Good morning, my dear friend. As the first rays of sunlight stretch across the sky and the quiet hush of early dawn settles around us, I invite you to pause with me in this sacred moment. The world has not yet stirred in full, and there is something profoundly holy about this time, before the rush begins, when the heart is still tender from sleep, and the mind has not yet been burdened by the noise of the day. It is in this gentle stillness that heaven often leans in the closest. This is the hour when the soul, if we let it, can hear the whisper of eternity. Somewhere right now, there is a woman sitting on the edge of her bed, her hands trembling slightly as she clutches a letter filled with news she never wanted to read. Her body feels like it is still breathing, but her spirit feels numb. Grief has arrived uninvited, and the silence in the room feels heavier than sound. In another home, a young man lies awake long before his alarm, staring at the ceiling, overwhelmed by a growing fear he can't quite name, uncertainty about his future, shame about his past, and a quiet question echoing inside him. Is God even listening anymore? Maybe it is you. Maybe you have opened this prayer today, not out of habit, but because something inside you is itching for more than just answers. You are searching for something real, something stronger than your pain, deeper than your worry, and more faithful than your own emotions. And if that is true, then I want you to know you are not alone. This space, this breath in time, is where everything can begin to shift. The truth is, every one of us walks through seasons where our minds are weary, our thoughts are heavy, and our spirits feel far from peace. We try to hold ourselves together on the outside while our inner world is quietly unraveling. But this is the beauty of grace. It never waits for us to be perfect. God is not calling you to perform today. He is simply inviting you to come. Come as you are tired or unsure, strong or shaken, and allow your heart to open to a deeper conversation. This is more than just a moment of reflection. This is a sacred exchange. Prayer is not a ritual reserved for the righteous. It is the lifeline of the weary, the shelter of the broken, and the strength of those who still dare to believe. It is the doorway into presence, into peace, into a mind renewed by the Spirit of truth. Faith does not always feel like fire. Sometimes it feels like a whisper barely heard over the storm. But even the faintest whisper, when spoken in trust, reaches the heart of God. That is where we begin today, not with loud declarations, but with quiet honesty, with the courage to show up and say, "Here I am, Lord, I need you." So wherever you are, whether you are in the middle of a battle or simply longing for stillness, know that this journey you are about to take is not about fixing yourself. It is about being found. It is about learning how to think again in the light of God as truth. It is about unlearning the fear and relearning the beauty of trust. And above all, it is about encountering the one who still speaks peace into chaos and breathes life into dry bones. If you are ready, take a deep breath. Set aside every distraction. Let this be your moment, not for answers, but for alignment, not for perfection, but for presence. Your Father is near. He has always been near. And now, together, let us draw closer. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you this morning not with strength in my hands, but with silence in my soul. The day is just beginning, yet it already feels heavy. I woke up with a weight I cannot name, a fog I cannot shake. I try to gather my thoughts, but they scatter like ashes in the wind. There is a kind of tiredness that sleep does not touch, and I confess that it lives in me. I feel it behind my eyes, in the quiet rooms of my mind where old fears still whisper. I do not come pretending. I come as I am worn down by thoughts that run in circles and dreams that feel too far away to chase. Lord, there are mornings when the world feels too loud, even in its silence. My heart longs for peace, but my thoughts are not still. I carry memories that echo louder than truth. I carry questions that rise like smoke, but find no wind to carry them away. I am easily distracted, easily discouraged. I find myself drifting into worries before I even open my eyes. I reach for my phone before I reach for your presence. I run through tasks before I run to your voice. But in this moment, I stop. I stop because I need you more than I need understanding. I need you more than I need the day to go well. I need you to meet me here, in the shadows of my mind, and lead me gently into light. Sometimes, Lord, I feel like a house left unattended, the windows still open, the furniture still there, but the rooms are cluttered and dusty with old habits, old hurts, old patterns. I have let too many thoughts live here that do not belong. I have believed voices that do not sound like yours. I have allowed lies to plant themselves in the corners of my thinking and grow roots too deep to pull without pain. I have made agreements with fear without realizing it. I have allowed discouragement to be my morning companion instead of hope. And still, you are near. I believe you are near even when I cannot feel you. I believe you are whispering even when my mind is too noisy to hear. I believe you are not offended by my wariness. I believe you understand the mess of me, and yet you draw close anyway. This is what humbles me most, that you would draw near to a heart as tangled as mine, that you would still call me beloved even when I forget who I am. So I bring you the pieces. I bring the scattered thoughts, the aching questions, the tired rhythms. I lay them down not because I know how to fix them, but because I trust that you do. I trust that you are not waiting for a polished version of me. You are not asking for a performance. You are simply inviting me to be real, to sit with you, to begin again. I do not know what today will hold, but I know that I do not want to face it with a mind clouded by yesterday. I do not want to carry the weight of assumptions and regrets into the morning. I want to live awake, awake to your presence, awake to possibility, awake to grace. So I ask you, quietly but sincerely, would you begin to clear the fog? Would you step into the inner rooms and open the windows? Would you help me breathe again in truth? I confess that I often try to fix things by thinking harder, planning better, or pushing through. But none of that brings peace. None of that brings you. Only surrender does. So today, I choose to surrender not in defeat, but in trust. I choose to release the illusion of control and reach for the one who holds it all anyway. You do not require me to be strong before I come. You only ask that I come. So I come, Lord, even if all I can bring is silence, I come. There are thoughts I do not even understand, patterns I cannot trace, lies I did not mean to believe. But you see them all. You are not confused by what confuses me. You are not impatient with my process. You are the one who restores, the one who rewires, the one who renews from the inside out. And even if I cannot see change yet, I believe it begins now. I believe it begins with this prayer, not because my words are powerful, but because you are. If I am honest, God, sometimes I am afraid of silence, afraid of what I might find in stillness. But I want to stop running from myself. I want to stop escaping my own mind and learn to live within peace. I want you to build something new inside of me. Something quiet. Something rooted. Something that cannot be shaken every time life moves. I do not want to live reactionary anymore. I want to live anchored. So come, Lord, into the quiet parts of me, into the places I keep hidden even from myself, into the memories that still sting and the hopes I hardly dare to touch. Come into the places where anxiety nests and shame has taken up residence. Come not just to visit, but to stay, to dwell, to make a home in the very places I thought were too broken to hold anything sacred. You are not afraid of the dark. You are not intimidated by my questions. You do not flinch when I tell the truth. So I will keep telling the truth. I will tell you that I am tired of carrying everything alone. I will tell you that I miss hearing your voice. I will tell you that sometimes I wonder if I have drifted too far, but deep down, I believe you are still calling me, still drawing me, still ready to do a new thing. So I begin here, in the shadows, in the silence, with the smallest faith I have, with the simplest words I can find. You see me, you know me, you receive me, and that is enough. Father, something in me is trembling again. It is not fear like before, not the same kind that hides or runs. It feels deeper than that. It feels like longing, like something ancient in my soul is waking up, stretching out its hands and whispering a name it barely remembers. I do not know if it is sorrow or hunger or hope, but it is rising. It started quietly, just beneath the surface, like a pulse I did not notice until now. It is not loud, but it is constant, like a cry forming inside of me that has no words yet. Only H. I thought stillness would bring peace, but instead it brought exposure. I thought silence would settle me, but it stirred the dust of forgotten places. I am not afraid of the dark anymore, but I am not yet steady in it either. What I feel now is raw and unfinished. It is like standing on the edge of something holy, but not knowing how to cross over. I want to believe you are in this place, not just above it, not just watching, but here, in the center of the H, in the center of me. God, I do not want to go back to how I was. I cannot. Something has shifted, and I can pretend it has not. I can unsee what you have revealed. I can unfeel the emptiness that quiet exposed. And I do not want to fill it with noise again. I want to learn how to let it cry, not as a sign of weakness, but as a sign of life, as a sign that somewhere deep inside, my spirit still knows how to reach for you, even when I did not know how to pray with perfect words. So I cry, not out loud, but inwardly, with sighs that press against my chest and tears that burn without falling. I cry not just because I am broken, but because I am opening. And opening is always painful. It means letting go of old defenses. It means choosing honesty over comfort. It means surrendering my silence in exchange for your nearness. So if this Aish is a beginning, then let it come, let it rise. Let it lead me deeper into what is real. Lord, you see the places I keep trying to hold together. You see the thoughts I bury under distractions. You see the grief I try to label as tiredness. You see the fear I hide behind productivity. And still, you wait, not with disappointment, but with understanding. You do not rush my healing. You do not shame my delay. You wait like a friend who knows the value of presence. You wait until I am ready to speak, until the cry becomes a voice. This morning, I do not come with declarations or answers. I come with my soul undone. I come because my spirit is restless. I come because something in me knows there is more than survival, more than cycles of numbness and noise. I come because I believe you listen even when all I can offer is a whisper, even when my words feel too small to matter. You listen not because I have earned it, but because love always listens. God, I do not know how to carry everything I feel. Some of it is heavy and sharp. Some of it is soft but persistent. Some of it does not even have a name. I have tried to reason through it, tried to stuff it into logic and wrap it in scripture. But truth without tenderness only hardens the H, and I do not want a hard heart. I want a whole one. So I bring you the pieces again, not to be solved, but to be held. There are dreams I am still afraid to admit I miss. There are losses I told myself I had moved on from, but they still echo in my decisions. There are wounds I thought time had healed, yet they throb in the quiet. And there is love deep, etching love for you, for others, for things that matter more than I know how to express. All of this lives in me. All of this rises in the cry. I can no longer pretend that the H is not real. And still, I trust you. Not because I understand what you are doing, but because you have never turned me away, even when I did not understand you. I have always known that you were near, even when I doubted your goodness. Something in me still called you by name. That is the cry I follow now, the sound of my spirit calling home, the sound of my soul reaching beyond its own strength. The sound of a heart finally soft enough to break. There is no shame here, no need to hide, no mask to wear. Only presence. Only you and me and whatever this moment becomes. I do not need the answers yet. I only need to know you here, that you are leaning in, that you are not distant, that you are not indifferent. And even if I cannot yet feel your arms, I choose to believe they are around me now. Sometimes healing begins not with resolution, but with permission. Permission to feel. Permission to weep. Permission to say, I do not know how to move forward. I do not want to stay here. I give myself that permission today, because I believe you have already given it. You are not asking me to be brave without fear. You are asking me to be honest in the middle of it. So here I am, trembling and trying, crying and hoping, wounded but willing. I will not silence this longing. I will not rush this ache. I will let it lead me into deeper prayer, into deeper trust, into deeper love. Because if this cry came from you, then it will not end in despair. It will end in encounter. And if you are here, then this is holy ground. I do not want to run away from the H. I want to run towards you with it. I want to believe that even this soft, etching cry is a kind of prayer you understand. A kind of prayer you receive. So I will keep crying. I will keep reaching. I will keep coming back to this space. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Because the more I bring my true heart to you, the more I begin to remember who I truly am. And if the only thing I can offer you today is this inner cry, then let it rise like incense. Let it reach you like a fragrance of surrender. Let it be enough. Because right now, I am not asking for clarity or comfort. I am asking for communion. I am asking for you, Lord, even as the H still pulses in quiet places within me. Something begins to stir beneath it. It is not loud or sudden. It is not a revelation or a breakthrough. It is more like the gentle brushing of memory against the edges of my heart, like light slipping through an old curtain, soft but sure. It is the sound of something ancient waking up. I do not know where it came from, but I feel it now. A memory. A whisper. A moment when I knew you were near. I cannot always recall the exact words. I do not remember the time on the clock or the color of the sky, but I remember what it felt like. I remember the weight lifting. I remember the stillness that covered me like a warm blanket when everything around me was falling apart. I remember peace, not the kind the world gives, but the kind that silences fear without even trying. I remember knowing, even for a moment, that you were speaking, that you had not forgotten me, that I was seen. And now, as I sit in the quiet with you again, I find myself searching those memories like one would search through old photographs, not to cling to the past, but to awaken what was once alive in me. There have been days, Lord, when I have questioned whether it was real. Days when doubt crept in and tried to rewrite those moments as emotion or imagination. But deeper still, my spirit knows. It knows because the fruit of those moments still remains. Hope did not come from nowhere. Peace did not grow out of empty air. It came because you were near. It came because you spoke. So now, I lean into those memories, not with nostalgia, but with hunger. I ask you to bring to life what has been lying dormant. Bring to remembrance what I have let fade, not just the feeling of your presence, but the truth you spoke in those moments. Words I may have forgotten, but that are still alive in your heart. Remind me of who I was when I believed you most, when I trusted without hesitation, when I loved you without guarding my heart. Bring me back there, not to the place or the circumstance, but to the posture, to the tenderness, to the openness. God, sometimes I wonder why it is easier to remember pain than to remember peace. Why trauma feels closer than triumph. Why I can replay every mistake with vivid clarity, but have to fight to recall your faithfulness. Maybe it is the way my mind has been trained to expect loss, to brace for disappointment, but I do not want to live like that anymore. I want my memory to serve the truth, not just my fears. I want to remember the times you came through, the times you whispered when I was too broken to pray, the times you redirected my steps when I was about to give up. They matter. They are not small. They are evidence of love. So I slow down and let my mind walk those old roads. I let it revisit the quiet hospital room where you gave me courage to sit beside someone I loved and let them go. I let it return to that night I cried in my car and felt you wrap around me with no words. Just presence. I let it rest in the early morning when a verse came to life as if it had been written just for me. These are the sacred echoes. They are not gone. They are not lost. They are waiting to be remembered. And as I remember, I feel you again, not just as a thought, but as someone who has always been there. Father, you are not just the God of now. You are the God who was and who will be. So often I search for new signs, for fresh reassurance, forgetting that you have already been faithful again and again. My memory is not meant to torment me with regret. It is meant to anchor me in testimony, to declare over my current storm, you were with me then, and you are with me now. This is how my faith breathes again, not in perfection, but in remembrance. Even the smallest whisper of your voice has the power to change everything. I do not need thunder. I do not ask for spectacle. I ask to hear you again in the way you first met me, the way that stilled me, the way that called me by name when I had forgotten who I was. You still speak like that. You still know how to reach past my noise and into the secret places of my being. So speak again, Lord, not with many words, but with the same kindness that first awakened me. There was a time I believed without hesitation, a time I sang without shame, a time I prayed without scripting the outcome. I miss that version of me, not because they were stronger, but because they were softer, less guarded, more surrendered. I want to return to that place in spirit. I want to remember how it felt to trust you first, not last, to look for your hand in the small things, to expect you at the table, in the hallway, in the pauses. You have not changed. I have. But if remembering is a door, I am opening it now. Show me how to keep the memories of your goodness close. Let them not be buried under business or dulled by disappointment. Let them rise in me like fragrance after rain. Let them shape the way I walk into this day, because if you were faithful before, you will be faithful again. That is not a cliché. That is a fact written in the story of my life. Written in moments I thought I would not survive. Written in mornings just like this one, when I came to you with nothing but a heart that needed hope. Lord, let this remembrance lead me into gratitude, into confidence, into the kind of faith that does not need everything to make sense, to believe that you are still writing goodness into the story, even if today feels quiet, even if the answers are still coming. I remember, and because I remember, I rest. Because I remember, I hope. Because I remember, I trust. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for not letting the noise erase the echo of your voice. Thank you for the tenderness of memories that still sing of your faithfulness. I will carry them with me now, not as relics of the past, but as reminders of the truth that still holds. You were with me, you are with me, and you will never leave. Father, the memories of your faithfulness still linger like a soft echo in my spirit. But even as I try to stay in that holy stillness, I feel the clamor pressing in again. The noise, Lord, it finds me so quickly. It waits for me at the edge of prayer, ready to pull me back into 1,000 distractions. I want to dwell in remembrance, but my mind keeps reaching for what is next, what is urgent, what is unfinished. It is like I carry a temple inside me, meant to be sacred and still, yet filled with movement and noise that should not be there. God, I did not mean for it to become this way. I did not intentionally let chaos take root in the inner court. It happened slowly. A little compromise here, a bit of numbing there, one more scroll, one more headline, one more worry rehearsed until it turned into obsession. My thoughts have become like merchants, shouting for attention, selling me reasons to be afraid, to be busy, to be distracted. I walk into my own mind, and it feels more like a marketplace than a sanctuary. And I know you deserve better than that. I know you deserve more than a divided heart and a cluttered soul. You do not rush into chaos. You enter where you are welcomed. You dwell where there is reverence. So I ask you, gently but urgently, come into this place and overturn the tables I have allowed to remain. Come and cleanse the temple again. Drive out what does not belong. Clear away what keeps me from hearing you. Let nothing be too precious to release, if it is standing in the way of peace. Lord, there are conversations I replay that do not bring life. There are imagined scenarios I obsess over, trying to control what has not happened yet. There are old voices I let speak louder than yours, voices that question my worth, my calling, my place in this world. I let them in, and now they roam freely, filling the holy space with fear, comparison, and performance. But this place belongs to you. My mind is not meant to be a court for commerce. It is meant to be a place of communion. So help me reclaim it. Help me silence the noise not with force, but with reverence. Teach me how to guard the gates of my thoughts, how to recognize what is sacred and what is simply loud. Because sometimes the loudest things are the least true. And the truth, the real truth, often comes like a whisper that only the quiet mind can hear. There are patterns I have formed that I need you to break. I have trained myself to check my phone before I check in with you. I have made urgency an idol and silence a threat. I have believed the lie that productivity is the same as purpose, that constant motion is the same as meaning. But I am learning now that being still is not being weak, that silence is not the absence of life, but the invitation to hear it more clearly. I do not want to be ruled by the tyranny of the urgent anymore. I want to be moved by your spirit. Lord, if my mind is a house, then let it be one where you are welcome. Let every room be swept clean of clutter. Let every hallway echo with praise, not panic. Let every window be open to light, not closed in fear. I want to make room for you again, not just in my words, but in my rhythms, in my choices, in the spaces between all the doing. I remember how Jesus walked into the temple with holy authority, not with violence, but with conviction. He did not tolerate what distracted from worship. He cleared space for what mattered. Do that in me. Walk through my thoughts with the same clarity. Show me what has taken up residence without permission. Show me what I have made normal that you never intended. And then help me release it, no matter how familiar it feels. There are things I once called harmless that have become habits. Things I once said I could manage that now manage me. Distractions dressed up as necessities. Opinions disguised as truth. Doubt wearing the clothes of logic. But you see through it all. You see not just the noise, but the roots beneath it. You see the longing that led me to fill the silence in the first place. And you do not shame me for it. You simply invite me to return, to clear the courts, to rebuild the altar. I want to be someone who carries stillness, not just for myself, but for others. I want to create space in my life where your voice is honored, where people feel peace, because I have chosen not to live in chaos. But that starts here, in me, in the quiet choices I make when no one sees, in the yes I give you before the world makes its demands. So teach me again how to be quiet, not just with my mouth, but with my spirit. Let me sit in the tension without filling it with noise. Let me wait without reaching for the nearest distraction. Let me hunger for truth more than I hunger for stimulation. Let my thoughts become worship, not worry. Let my inner world reflect your kingdom, not my culture. God, I know the world will still be loud when I step away from this moment. I know the demands will still knock. The voices will still rise. The expectations will still press in. But let me carry a different sound inside of me. Let me walk through the day with a heart that has been washed in silence. Let my thoughts move more slowly. Let my mind turn toward you before it turns toward fear. Let the temple be filled with prayer again. You are not a guest in this place. You are the rightful owner. And where you dwell, there is order. Where you speak, there is peace. Where you remain, there is clarity. So remain here, not just in this hour, but in every thought that follows. Let the sacred push out the clutter. Let the holy quiet drown out the noise. Let your presence become the rhythm my mind remembers first. This is the life I want, not one without noise on the outside, but one where the inside is ruled by peace, where my thoughts kneel before truth, where my attention is not for sale to the next loud thing, where you are not squeezed between seconds, but seated on the throne of my inner life. This is the temple you deserve, a mind made ready for your presence, a heart prepared for communion, a soul set apart, even in the noise. God, as the noise settles and the temple is cleared, what remains is silence I can no longer avoid, not the peaceful kind that comforts, but the kind that stares back at me like a mirror. The stillness you have helped me create now invites me to see myself more clearly, and it is here that I feel the weight of honesty begin to press against my heart, not the soft kind that feels good to admit, but the kind that stings because it is real, the kind that does not ask for permission before it rises to the surface. I did not come looking to hide today. I came to be known, and in this light, there is no room left for pretending. Father, I have said I want to be renewed. I have whispered prayers about transformation and freedom, but now that the moment is here, now that the invitation stands open before me, I feel the tension between wanting to change and wanting to stay comfortable. I feel the resistance in me that still clings to old excuses. I feel the parts of my heart that would rather blame the past than face the truth. But I cannot walk into freedom while dragging denial behind me. So I choose to tell the truth. I confess that I have held on to things you have asked me to release. I have kept pride in the closet and called it strength. I have kept jealousy in my pocket and labeled it ambition. I have let bitterness sleep beside me and named it protection. I have wrapped my fears in logic, my judgments in sarcasm, and my unforgiveness in silence. And while all these things made me feel safe for a time, they have slowly suffocated my soul. They have stolen wonder. They have blurred my vision. They have hardened my compassion. And they have made it hard to hear you. Lord, I want to say I did not know, but I did. I knew when I ignored that nudge to forgive. I knew when I turned away from kindness because anger felt more powerful. I knew when I rehearsed offense instead of releasing it. And you did not shout at me. You simply waited. You waited until the noise was low enough, until the walls were thin enough for truth to slip through. And now that it is here, now that I see it, I cannot unsee it. So I open the doors, all of them. I open the drawers I have kept locked. I open the stories I have left unfinished. I open the wounds I told myself had healed just because I stopped touching them. I let you look at it all. I do not want to offer you a version of myself think you will accept. I want to offer you the real me, the one who still struggles with control, the one who still reacts out of fear, the one who gets defensive when challenged, the one who sometimes avoids prayer, not because of disbelief, but because of shame. I want to be honest about my silence, my apathy, my tendency to escape rather than engage, because what I hide cannot be healed, and I would rather hurt in truth than feel numb in hiding. So search me, not as a judge looking for evidence, but as a father longing for connection. Search the layers I have built to protect myself, and show me which ones were never mine to carry. Show me the false strength I have worn like armor, and help me lay it down. Teach me that vulnerability is not weakness when it is offered to you. Teach me that healing does not always feel like relief at first. Sometimes it feels like exposure, but even then, it is good. God, I am tired of measuring myself by standards you never set. I am tired of performing for people who do not see the cost. I am tired of pretending I am okay just to avoid awkward silence. I am tired of defining holiness as perfection instead of proximity to you. I want to live differently. I want to breathe honestly. I want to stand in the light and not flinch when truth finds me. I want to become someone whose strength is not in hiding pain, but in handing it over. I want to be known and still be loved. I know you see all of me, and yet you do not turn away. That truth alone undoes me, that you know my most unlovely places and still move closer, not further. That you are not afraid of what I have been afraid to name. That your love does not shrink at the sound of my confession. It grows louder. It wraps around the H I thought I had to hide and whispers, This too belongs to me. So I surrender my image. I surrender the fear of being misunderstood. I surrender the curated version of me that I thought would be easier to accept. I bring you my broken pieces, not as a plea for pity, but as an offering, because I believe you make mosaics out of shattered things. I believe you speak beauty into what I call blemished. I believe you are more interested in honesty than in polish. And if that is true, then here I am honest, unfinished, open. Show me the things I have avoided looking at. Show me the habits I have excused. Show me the stories I have told myself that are rooted in pain, not truth. Show me the ways I have hurt others without realizing it. And show me how to let grace begin the repair. I do not want to stay the same, but I also do not want to rush transformation just to avoid discomfort. I want to walk through it with you, slowly, honestly, without shortcuts, without shame. This is the hardest kind of prayer, the kind that does not ask for blessings, but for bravery, the kind that opens wounds so they can be washed, the kind that invites you not only to comfort me, but to confront what is still keeping me bound. But I trust you with this work. I trust you with the pieces. I trust you to do what I cannot to cleanse, to reshape, to restore. I will not run from this moment. I will not cover up what you are trying to reveal. I will not hold my breath waiting for it to pass. I will inhale deeply, even if it stings, because I believe that healing is happening in the places that honesty touches. And I believe that what begins in truth will always end in freedom. Father, now that I have stood still in the light of honesty, I feel something breaking loose inside me, not like destruction, but like release, like a dam giving way after holding back too long. I did not know how tightly I had clenched my fists until I opened them. I did not realize how much I was carrying until I began to lay it down. There is a trembling in my spirit that I can't ignore. And I know this is more than confession. This is repentance. Not a word of shame, but of return. Not a punishment, but an invitation to step out of what has bound me and into the flow of mercy that has waited all along. God, I do not want to brush past this moment. I do not want to apologize without changing. I do not want to say sorry just to feel better. I want to be made new. And I know that begins when I stop circling my mistakes and finally surrender them, not just with words, but with posture, with direction, with heart. I want to turn away from the thoughts that have deceived me and walk toward the truth that heals. I want to let your kindness lead me, not just to remorse, but to transformation. There are places in me where I have grown numb, patterns I have rehearsed so long they began to feel like personality. But they are not who I am. They are who I became while trying to protect what was hurt. I have excused impatience as exhaustion, defensiveness as discernment, emotional distance as wisdom. But I see it now for what it is: self-preservation that has kept me from surrender. And I do not want that anymore. I do not want to live behind walls, even if I built them to survive. I want to live free, exposed to grace, open to change. Lord, I return to you not from a distant land, but from the corners of my own heart I have avoided. I return from the justifications, the half-truths, the hidden resentments. I return from the comparisons that made me small and the pride that made me unreachable. I return from the prayers I withheld because I did not want to be disappointed again. I return from the bitterness I fed like it would save me. I return not to start over from scratch, but to start again from the right place, in your arms, in your truth. In the current of your mercy, I have sinned, not only in action, but in thought, in attitude, in motive. I have turned inward when you called me outward. I have turned cold when you called me tender. I have chosen control when you offered peace. And for each of these, I repent, not with dread, but with hope, because I believe your mercy is not measured in portions, but poured out in abundance. I believe that when I confess, you do not tally my failures. You wash them. You do not file them away. You forget them. You do not scold me for returning. You rejoice that I did. So I come into the river. I step into the flow of grace that moves stronger than shame. I let it cover the places I have tried to clean on my own. I let it touch the memories I still flinch at. I let it reach the parts of me I have hidden from even myself. I do not want a surface cleansing. I want a deep restoration, not just to feel forgiven, but to think differently, to want differently, to live like someone who has truly been made new. God, this kind of turning is not easy. It means choosing humility when my pride wants the last word. It means setting down habits that have numbed the pain, but never healed it. It means accepting that some of what I have carried was not mine to begin with, and some of what I have done I cannot undo. But still, you invite me. Still, you offer the river. Still, you say that what I bring, however heavy, however late, is welcome. Wash me, Lord, not just so I can move on, but so I can move forward. Wash the bitterness out of my tone. Wash the envy from my thoughts. Wash the fear from my silence. Wash the anxiety from my attempts to control. Wash the criticism from how I speak to myself. Wash me until love sounds louder than shame, until truth settles deeper than the lies, until grace becomes not just something I receive, but something I live. I do not want to carry regret like a badge or rehearse guilt like a story I am not allowed to forget. I want to let repentance be the turning point, not the end. I want this to be the place where shame no longer has a seat, where I stop identifying myself by what I regret and start walking in who you say I am. Not a failure, not a fraud, not a disappointment, but a child returned, a soul washed clean, a mind being renewed. And Lord, I know that true repentance bears fruit. It is not just emotion, it is movement. So move me. Help me forgive where I have withheld grace. Help me apologize where I have caused harm. Help me rebuild where I have torn down. Help me walk differently today, because I have knelt in truth this morning. Let repentance not be a passing feeling, but a rooted transformation. This is where the healing begins, not in pretending it did not happen, but in trusting you with what did, not in rewriting the past, but in letting you redeem it, not in becoming perfect overnight, but in becoming honest enough to change. This is where the cycle breaks. This is where the new story starts. Not because I willed it into being, but because I surrendered to the one who writes beauty out of ashes and grace out of ruin. So I return, again and again. If I must, I return not to earn love, but to receive what has always been offered. I return not because I am lost beyond hope, but because I have remembered where home is. I return with hands open, with heart soft, with eyes lifted. I return, not only for forgiveness, but for restoration. I return for the joy of being clean, for the peace of walking in truth, for the sweetness of knowing that nothing I bring is too broken for you to make whole. Let this river never stop flowing in me. Let it shape the landscape of my soul. Let it carve through hard places and create paths of grace. Let it carry away what was never mine to keep. Let it refresh what has grown dry. Let it rise, and let me rise with it into the life you always meant for me to live. Father, the river has done its work. It rushed over me in truth, moved through me in surrender, and left in its place something I almost do not recognize at first: quiet. Not the uneasy silence that comes from avoidance, but the deep, settled hush that follows after a storm has finally passed. My spirit feels still in a way it has not for a long time. I am not trying to fix anything in this moment. I am not scrambling to make sense of the past or predict the future. I am simply here, sitting with you in the stillness and letting it settle into my bones. It surprises me. This quiet. I expected tears, maybe more words. I expected a flood of revelation or a surge of emotion. But what I find instead is calm. It is like standing outside after the rain, when the sky is no longer falling and the earth smells clean again. There is nothing dramatic about it, but everything feels changed. I feel change, not fully rebuilt, but deeply softened, not completely new, but undeniably different. Like something has shifted beneath the surface, and I no longer need to strive to feel it. God, I do not want to rush past this moment. I do not want to fill it with noise, or even with more prayer. I just want to be present, present to the gift of stillness, present to the weight that has lifted, present to the air that feels lighter in my lungs. I do not know how long this quiet will last, but I want to receive every bit of peace it offers. I want to remember what it feels like to be unhurried in your presence, to rest without guilt, to breathe without burden. There is a strange kind of healing that happens in silence, the kind that does not demand attention, but simply begins. I can feel it working through me, even now, gentle, slow, faithful. I do not feel the need to strive for clarity. I do not feel the pressure to be profound. I feel safe. I feel held. I feel like I have stepped into a sacred pause, where nothing is required of me except to remain. And maybe that is the point. Maybe restoration does not always come through effort. Maybe sometimes it comes through being still long enough to let your presence find its way into every corner. I have kept, closed, Lord. This stillness feels like a Sabbath inside my soul, a quiet that honors what has been surrendered and makes space for what is still unfolding. I am not trying to impress you. I am not trying to earn anything. I am just here. And somehow, that feels more than enough. I have prayed and cried and confessed and turned. And now, I just want to rest in the after, in the peace that follows obedience, in the silence that speaks more loudly than my attempts to understand. There are no answers pressing against me right now, no old thoughts demanding attention. Just breath, just space, just you. I think this is what my soul was always craving, not just relief from the weight, but release into rest. I have chased peace through performance. I have tried to achieve stillness by controlling the chaos. But none of that brought me here. You did. You, in your patience. You, in your mercy. You, in the gentle way you lead me to lay down what never served me and receive what I did not know I needed. I do not want to take this stillness for granted. I know how quickly life tries to fill the empty spaces, how fast distraction can sneak back in. But for now, this silence is holy, not because of anything I have done, but because of what you have done in me. It is like my heart has exhaled for the first time in weeks. Like my thoughts have finally stopped running long enough to hear that I am not lost. I am found. Not because I fought harder, but because I let go. So I sit here with you, God. Not speaking, not explaining, just being. There is a sweetness in this stillness I do not want to forget. It is soft like morning fog, quiet like a room where something sacred just happened. It does not need to be named to be real. It just is. And I think that is part of your kindness, to give rest even when I thought I needed resolution. To offer peace even before the story is fully rewritten. To let silence be the song my heart did not know it needed to sing. I realize now that not every prayer needs to be filled with words. Some of the deepest communion happens when the heart simply rests, when the mind no longer argues, when the soul no longer hides, when everything inside me settles into a posture of trust. That is where I am now. Not asking, not striving, just trusting, just letting the quiet hold me like your presence always does. And maybe this is part of the renewal I have been asking for all along, to be able to sit in your presence without needing to perform. To be still and know, to let you be God and me be human. To let love speak louder than shame. To let grace hold what I cannot. To be okay with the mystery, the in-between, the pause that prepares me for what comes next. I do not know how to describe what is happening in me, but I know it is good. I know it is holy. I know that something sacred is taking root in this calm. Maybe peace is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of trust. And maybe healing is not always loud, but sometimes feels like this quiet, steady, unfolding beneath the surface where only you can see. So I remain. I breathe. I stay. I do not rush the moment. I do not fill the silence. I do not ask for anything else right now. I just want to honor this stillness as the gift it is. You are here, and that is enough. Father, in this stillness where I have chosen to stay, I begin to notice something I almost missed. It does not come with thunder. It does not break through like fire or rush in like wind. It is smaller, quieter, gentle enough that it could be mistaken for my own thoughts, if I were not listening so carefully. It is the sound of you. Not shouting, not demanding, just whispering, just barely brushing the edges of my spirit like the softest wind through the leaves. And somehow, that whisper feels more powerful than all the noise I have tried to escape. God, I realize now that it was not you who stopped speaking. It was me who forgot how to listen. I filled every silence with my assumptions, every gap with my own voice. I filled the moments meant for you with the static of my own striving. But now that the storm has passed and I have let go of the need to constantly explain or fix, I can finally hear again. I can hear you, not just around me, but within, like a memory made new, like a thread of peace weaving its way through the fabric of my thoughts. Your whisper is not vague. It is not distant. It is personal. I feel it speaking not to the surface of who I am, but to the root. I can't even find words to fully describe it. But I know what it carries. It carries kindness, clarity, the kind of love that does not need volume to be convincing. You do not overpower me. You do not try to impress me. You just speak. And something in me recognizes the sound not because it is loud, but because it is true. Lord, what amazes me most is that you waited for me to quiet down long enough to notice you were already near. I expected your voice to come with answers, but instead it comes with presence. And that is what I needed more than anything. Not a solution, not a breakthrough, just to know that you are close, that you have not gone silent, even when I did, that you are still choosing to draw near. Not because I have done everything right, but because I have finally made space for you to be heard. Your whisper carries no condemnation, no pressure. It simply brings me back to center, back to truth, back to love. It is the kind of sound that does not ask for a response. It asks for attention, a still heart, an open spirit, a willingness to receive without needing to perform. And here I am, learning again how to be the kind of child who listens, not out of fear, but out of trust. Trust that whatever you say, it will be what I need even if I did not know to ask for it. Sometimes the whisper feels like a wordless nudge, a tug in the direction of hope. Other times it is as clear as a sentence softly spoken across my soul. Sometimes it is just a sense of knowing, a deep, quiet certainty that you are guiding me, even when I do not yet understand the path. And I am learning to honor that, to pause when I sense it, to lean in instead of brushing past, to treat every moment of connection like the treasure it is. You are not in a hurry when you speak. You are not competing with the noise of the world. You wait until my inner volume is low enough for the whisper to matter. And when it comes, it does not always answer the questions I have been asking, but it brings peace to the place where the questions once stirred restlessly. You calm the storm without even explaining it. You still the waters just by being in the boat. And even though the destination is still ahead, your voice makes me feel like I am already home. God, I do not want to forget how this moment feels. I do not want to lose this awareness when the noise creeps back in, as I know it will. So teach me to carry the whisper, not as a fragile thing to protect, but as a steady rhythm beneath the surface. A quiet compass that helps me walk through the day with attention turned toward you. I want to be someone who listens more than I speak, who notices more than I assume, who walks slowly enough to hear when you call my name. I used to think I needed a dramatic word to believe you were speaking, but now I understand that the whisper is the miracle. That you, holy and infinite, would choose to speak in ways I can only hear when I slow down and lean in that is astonishing grace. That you would speak softly enough to require trust, gently enough to shape without force, clearly enough to move me without shouting. That is love I do not deserve, but desperately need. So speak, Lord, even if it is only one word. Speak into the corners of my heart that are still waiting for confirmation. Speak into the parts of me that have not dared to hope again. Speak into my confusion, not with answers, but with presence. Your voice is enough, even when it says less than I expected. It always brings more than I knew I needed. Help me keep this posture throughout the day. Help me notice the whispers that come through other people. Through nature, through sudden moments of clarity that seem to rise out of nowhere. Help me hear you not just in prayer, but in the pauses between conversations, in the quiet moments between obligations. Let my ears stay open. Let my spirit remain tuned to the subtle frequency of heaven's breath. Let my steps be directed not by impulse, but by response to your leading. And if I begin to lose this sensitivity again, draw me back. Whisper my name in the still hours of morning. Interrupt my pace with peace. Call me back to the quiet, not as punishment, but as invitation. Keep me near the sound of your voice, even if it is only a breath at a time. This is where I want to live, not in the volume of the world, but in the soft space where you speak. Not in the rush of reaction, but in the slow strength of communion. Let your whisper become the loudest sound in me. Let it shape the way I think, the way I speak, the way I love. Let it anchor me again and again. No matter what noise waits on the other side of this moment. Father, now that I have learned to hear your whisper again, now that my spirit has slowed enough to feel the truth brushing gently against the places I used to guard, I sense you drawing me deeper, not away from stillness, but into something more deliberate within it. You are not just whispering comfort now. You are pointing, lifting things up into the light, naming what I have never fully faced. It is not accusation. It is clarity. It is love refusing to let me carry what no longer belongs. There are voices that still echo in my mind. Lord, voices that do not sound like you, but have shaped me just the same. They never came shouting. They crept in quietly, wrapped in experiences, in moments of pain, in words that were never yours. I did not know how quickly they took root. I did not realize how often I let them guide me. But now, in this space where your truth has begun to take shape again, I am ready to name them. I am ready to unearth the lies I have lived with so long they started to sound like my own thoughts. God, I bring you the lie that says I am not enough, the one that shows up every time I try to rest, whispering that I should be doing more, achieving more, proving my worth. I confess that I have measured my value by performance. by productivity, by perfectionism that leaves no room for peace. But you never called me to earn love. You called me beloved before I ever did a thing. So I name that lie and release it into your truth. I am not enough by the world's standards. And I was never meant to be. I am yours. That is enough. I bring you the lie that says I am too much. That if I feel deeply, I am dramatic. If I speak honestly, I am difficult. If I ask for help, I am a burden. This lie has kept me quiet when I needed to speak, has taught me to shrink when I was born to stand. But you, Lord, never once called me too much. You created me with intention, with tenderness, with depth. You made space for all of me, not just the pleasant parts, but the whole design. So I let go of the fear of taking up space. I let go of shame wrapped in false humility. I choose to believe I am fearfully and wonderfully made, exactly as you imagined me. Lord, I bring you the lie that says I am alone, that even in rooms full of people, no one sees me, no one stays. This lie runs deep, shaped by absence and silence, and the ache of being misunderstood. It has taught me to isolate myself, even when I long for connection. But you are the God who sees, the God who stays, the God who whispers into loneliness with the voice of belonging. So I choose to believe that I am never truly unseen, never truly abandoned. You are with me, even here, even now. I bring you the lie that says change is not possible, that the patterns are too old, the wounds too deep, the habits too strong, that even if I try, I will always return to the same broken places. But your word says transformation begins with the renewing of the mind, not with willpower, not with striving, with truth, with presence, with your spirit working from the inside out. So I lay down the defeat I have worn like armor and pick up the courage to believe again. You are not finished with me. You never were. God, I bring you the lie that says my worth is tied to the opinions of others, that if they approve, I matter, and if they do not, I fail. I have chased affirmation like a drug, afraid of disappointing, afraid of not being liked, afraid of being misunderstood. But you call me by name, not by reputation. You know the depths of me and still call me good. I do not have to be liked to be loved. I do not have to be seen by crowds to be known by you. So I release the need to impress, the desire to be accepted at any cost. I choose the security of being fully known and fully loved by the one who never changes. Lord, these lies are not harmless. They have shaped the way I speak, the way I see, the way I treat others and myself. They have influenced how I pray, how I wait, how I respond to you. But now I see them for what they are, not just passing thoughts, but patterns of distortion that cloud the beauty of truth. So I invite you to keep exposing them, not to shame me, but to free me, not to overwhelm, but to heal. I do not want to carry what you never asked me to hold. I know this work won't be done in a day. Some lies have tangled themselves into my identity. Some are inherited. Some are soaked in memory and emotion. But I trust you to untangle them. I trust you to be patient as I learn to think differently. Speak differently. Live differently. I trust you to be gentle as you walk with me through the reordering of what I thought was true. You do not just tear down. You rebuild. You do not just correct. You renew. So as each lie is named, I ask you to speak truth in its place, not just once, but again and again, until truth feels like home again, until my first thought is grace, not guilt, until my inner dialogue reflects heaven's perspective more than my past, until my default is peace, not panic. You said that the truth would set me free. So let it come like light into every shadow. Let it come like water over dry ground. Let it come until there is no room left for anything but what is real. Father, teach me to guard my thoughts with care, to catch the lies early, to speak truth even when it does not feel true yet, to train my mind to recognize the sound of your voice above all others. I do not want to be passive in this battle. I want to be present, awake, rooted in what is good and noble and eternal. Let every thought that rises against the knowledge of who you are be cast down. Let every lie crumble under the weight of your love. And in the quiet that follows, let me hear truth like never before. Let it settle deep and grow wild. Let it become the language my heart speaks fluently. Let it form the foundation beneath my emotions, my choices, my prayers. Let it rise each morning with the sun and rest with me each night. This is where renewal begins. With what I believe, with what I allow to live in me. So let nothing live in me that does not come from you. Let only truth remain. Father, now that the lies have been named and the veil of distortion has begun to lift, I find myself standing in unfamiliar space, empty in some ways, yet brimming with possibility. It is as if the foundation has been cleared, and you are handing me the first stone to build again. Not with the old names I carried, not with the shame I wore like second skin, but with truth, with grace, with the very words you have always spoken over me, waiting patiently for me to finally hear them. I used to think identity was something I had to create, an image to project, a story to control, a name to earn through effort or applause. But now I see it more clearly. Who I am does not begin with what I do, or what I have been through, or even who others say I am. It begins with you. It begins in your voice, steady and unwavering, calling me by name before I ever had the words to respond. My identity was never mine to construct. It was always yours to reveal. God, I am ready to let you define me. Not partially, not in the moments when I feel spiritual or strong, but in every breath and every space where insecurity still lingers. I no longer want to blend fragments of your truth with pieces of my past. I do not want to carry half-formed beliefs stitched together from fear and survival. I want the whole truth. I want to be rebuilt completely, not just patched up where I am weak. Speak to me, Father, in the way only you can. Say again who I am when I have forgotten. Whisper it into the quiet places that still feel fragile, not just once, but as often as it takes for my soul to believe. When I feel useless, remind me that I am chosen. When I feel unseen, Remind me that I am known. When I feel ordinary, remind me that I am handcrafted by the Creator of wonder. When I feel broken, remind me that I am being made whole. Let every name I have called myself that did not come from you fall away. Names like failure, names like weak, names like too late, too damaged, too small. You never called me those things. You never labeled me by my worst moment or my hardest season. You never used my wounds as a measure of my worth. Your voice calls me beloved. Your spirit calls me redeemed. Your heart calls me home. I ask you, Lord, to rebuild me from the inside out, not just in thought, but in posture, in presence, in the way I show up to the world. Let identity become not a concept, but a posture, one of trust, of quiet confidence, of rooted joy. Let it flow through how I speak, how I listen, how I forgive, how I dream, not as someone earning approval, but as someone already approved by the one whose opinion truly matters. There are still parts of me that hesitate, Lord, still echoes of the old patterns that pull me back. But even in that hesitation, I feel your patience. You are not rushed. You do not grow weary. You will teach me how to live as the one you say I am, one step at a time, one layer of truth at a time, one surrendered moment after another. You will shape me into someone who no longer doubts their place in your heart. I do not want to define myself by the wounds I have endured. I want to define myself by the healing you are doing. I do not want to identify with the battles. I have fought more than the peace you offer. I want my story to reflect not just the struggle, but the redemption. I want to see myself the way you see me, not just in glimpses, but with consistent clarity. I want to agree with heaven about who I am. So if I forget again, Lord, remind me gently. When I slip back into striving or self-doubt, catch me with truth. Remind me that I am not my achievements, my status, or my failures. I am not the sum of my roles, my relationships, or my responsibilities. I am not what others expect of me or what I expect of myself. I am yours. That is the root. That is the anchor. That is the name I want to live from. God, help me live with the confidence of someone deeply loved. Let it shape how I carry myself. Let it influence how I interact with others. Let it show in my eyes and in my voice, not as pride, but as peace. Let me stop seeking validation in places that can sustain it. Let me stop adjusting myself to fit into spaces you never called me to. Let me stop waiting for the world to give me a name you already spoke. And Lord, teach me to affirm that identity in others too, not to call out flaws, but to call forth truth, to be a mirror of grace, reflecting your heart, to speak life over those still tangled in the lies I have begun to escape. Let my healing become a doorway for others to step into wholeness. Let my voice become part of the chorus that reminds us all who we truly are. Today, I stand in the early light, ready to begin again. Not as the person the world tried to shape, not as the version of myself I constructed out of fear or need, but as the one you have always seen, always known, always loved. And as I walk forward from here, I will carry that name, the one only you could give me, the one that cannot be taken away, the name that says I am yours, fully and forever, God. As the light of a new day begins to stretch across the sky, my heart longs not only to remember who I am in you, but to think like someone who belongs to you. The rebuilding of my identity cannot stand firm unless my thoughts are also transformed. I know how quickly the mind wanders, how easily old patterns slip in unnoticed, how quietly fear disguises itself as logic. So I bring you my thoughts this morning, not just the ones I like, but the ones I hide, the ones that accuse, the ones that contradict what you have spoken. Father, I realize that my thoughts shape everything. They steer my mood, filter my decisions, color the way I see others, and even how I see you. My thoughts can either lift me into truth or drag me into anxiety. They can either echo heaven or replay my wounds. And so, Lord, I come to you, not to ask for quick relief, but to ask for deep rewiring. I do not want a surface-level change. I want a reshaping that reaches the root. There are thoughts that feel so familiar, I do not even question them. Assumptions that I have rehearsed so long they have begun to sound like facts. But just because a thought is familiar does not mean it is true. And just because it feels urgent does not mean it is from you. Lord, train me to discern. Train me to pause before I agree with thoughts that diminish hope, silence joy, or harden my heart. Remind me that every thought has a source, and not all of them come from your spirit. Teach me to take captive the thoughts that accuse, the whispers that say I will never change, the silent echoes that predict failure before I begin. Let your truth interrupt them. Let your word break through like morning light scattering shadows. Replace the spiral of worry with quiet trust. Replace the loops of shame with reminders of your mercy. Replace the noise with stillness. I know the battlefield is not out there somewhere. It is right here, in the space between my ears. And I know I cannot win that battle alone. God, I do not want to spend another day following old thinking down dark paths. I want to walk in newness of mind. I want thoughts that make room for peace. Thoughts that lead me into courage. Thoughts that flow from your heart and not my past. I know you are not asking me to suppress every doubt or pretend I am never afraid. You are asking me to bring even those things into your presence so they can be transformed, not ignored. So here they are, all of them. My questions, my fears, my assumptions, my inner critic. I lay them at your feet so you can sift them, refine them, redeem them. Some mornings, Lord, my thoughts feel louder than your voice. Not because you are silent, but because I have trained my ears more to worry than to worship. But even now, I believe you are whispering. Even now, you are realigning what has been distorted. You are riding over the noise with steady truth. You are speaking not with condemnation, but with clarity. You are teaching me how to think again. Help me not to follow every thought I think. Help me test them. Help me to ask, is this thought leading me closer to love or away from it? Is it rooted in fear or in faith? Is it heavy with pressure or light with grace? Is it focused on control or on trust? Let your spirit nudge me gently when my thoughts begin to drift. Let truth feel familiar again. Let lies lose their grip. God, I also ask for new thoughts, ones I have never had before. Thoughts that come from being connected to you, not conformed to this world. Thoughts that create space for miracles, for forgiveness, for joy without apology. Thoughts that are not based on worst-case scenarios, but on divine possibility. I want to be someone whose mind is alive with your presence, not cluttered with fear or pride. Someone who thinks with both wisdom and wonder. I open my imagination to you, Lord, the part of my mind that dreams, that envisions, that creates. I have used it to predict disaster and prepare for disappointment, but I want to use it now to imagine hope. Let my mind become a garden where good things grow. Let my thoughts become seeds of encouragement, planted with intention and nurtured with your truth. And when weeds rise up, when comparison or cynicism or despair try to take root, help me to recognize them early and remove them without shame. Lord, let my thought life reflect the reality of your kingdom. Let it reflect what is true, noble, pure, and lovely. Let it be disciplined, not by force, but by love. Let it be a space where gratitude flourishes and fear has no footing. Let it become a place of communion, where I hear from you not only in prayer, but in the daily flow of reflection and response. And when I forget, Father, when I slip back into spirals of overthinking, when I begin to follow thought trails that lead to nowhere, remind me that you are not far. You are not waiting for me to figure it out alone. You are right here, gently turning my eyes back to truth. You do not shame me for the thoughts I have had. You shepherd me into better ones, thought by thought, breath by breath. So today, I begin again, with a mind open to be renewed, not perfectly focused, but intentionally surrendered, not already transformed, but willing to be. I will not believe everything I think. I will believe what you say, and I will keep coming back here, morning after morning, until the patterns shift, until the noise quiets, until the mind of Christ is not just a promise, but a lived experience. Because if you are shaping my thoughts, then peace is not far behind. If you are leading my mind, then hope will follow. If you are Lord not only of my heart, but also of my thoughts, then I can walk into this day with a stillness the world cannot shake. And even when thoughts come that do not belong, I will not be afraid, because I know how to return to you. I know who renews, I know who restores, and I know who I belong to. Lord, as I sit with you in this quiet moment, I realize that renewing my mind is not only about exchanging fear for faith or lies for truth, but about humbling the pride that still lives in hidden corners of my thinking. It is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it disguises itself as competence, as self-reliance, as the need to be in control. But beneath the surface, it resists surrender. It resists stillness. It resists you. And so today, I come not only to ask for clarity, but to ask for humility, for a softened heart and a quiet spirit, for a mind that is not obsessed with being right, but eager to be transformed. Father, I confess how often I try to prove myself without realizing it, How many of my thoughts are shaped not by grace, but by comparison, not by truth, but by performance? I want to look like I have it all together. I want to avoid the feeling of weakness. I want to seem wise, strong, capable, even in your presence. But you never asked me to be impressive. You asked me to be honest. You never demanded perfection. You desired surrender. And here I am again, recognizing how easily I return to the habits of self-promotion and self-protection, even when I do good things. Sometimes the motive underneath is stained with pride. I want to be seen. I want to be praised. I want control. But you, God, call me into something deeper. You call me into a life where the ego is not in charge, where identity is not earned but received, where greatness is found in quietness, and strength is born in dependence. Lord, I do not want pride to blind me from what you are doing. I do not want it to harden my heart to correction or close my ears to wisdom. I do not want it to keep me from growing or stop me from asking for help. Pride tells me I have to figure everything out on my own. But your love says I was never meant to. Pride tells me I am what I achieve, but you whisper that I am already chosen. Pride feeds my fear of being small, but you teach me that small is sacred, that humility is not weakness, but the birthplace of wisdom. So I bring you my pride, not just the loud, boastful parts, but the subtle ones too, the defensiveness when I am wrong, the resistance to feedback, the need to always have the last word, the belief that I am always the exception, the voice that says I already know and does not need to listen, the craving for attention that I disguise as ambition, the fear of being overlooked that I mask with perfectionism. Lord, I do not want to keep pretending. I want to be free. Teach me how to think humbly, not with false modesty, not with self-deprecation, but with clarity that comes from knowing who I am and who I am not. Let me embrace my limits. Let me celebrate the gifts of others. Let me be willing to say, I do not know, and mean it. Let me admit my need without shame. Let me receive correction with openness. Let me step out of the spotlight and still feel whole. Let me find joy in serving quietly, in listening deeply, in learning constantly. God, I ask you to interrupt the thoughts that puff me up. When I begin to compare, remind me that we are all made in your image, and there is room enough for everyone to shine. When I begin to criticize, help me to remember my own need for grace. When I begin to take credit, remind me of the many hands that helped carry me here. When I begin to boast inwardly, show me the beauty of being unknown. Teach me to walk in humility, not because I have to, but because I want to, because I have tasted its peace. Pride isolates, but humility connects. Pride defends, but humility listens. Pride assumes, but humility asks. Pride resists, but humility receives. I want to be someone who walks with a low heart and lifted eyes. Someone who sees others not as competition, but as co-travelers. Someone who does not need to dominate a room, but fills it with kindness. Someone who does not cling to titles, but carries love like a crown. Help me, Lord, to release the need to be understood before I understand, to be seen before I see, to be served before I serve. Help me to stop keeping score. Help me to speak less about myself and more about your goodness. Help me to grow more interested in what you are doing than in how I am perceived. Help me to trust that when I lose the spotlight, I gain the presence of something far more lasting. Father, I know that the mind of Christ was not proud. He came not to be served but to serve. He knelt before those he created and washed their feet. He forgave even when he was wronged. He listened even when he already knew the answer. He emptied himself. He chose the low place. And yet, he was never diminished. He was never without power. In his humility, he revealed your glory. That is the kind of mind I want. Make me less impressed by titles and more moved by truth. Less hungry for recognition and more hungry for righteousness. Less reactive and more reflective. Let me choose the slow way, the quiet way, the honest way. Let me be someone who does not need to win, but longs to love. Let humility be the filter for every thought I think, the lens through which I see others, the rhythm by which I live. And when pride tries to sneak back in, through fear or pain or insecurity, remind me who I am in you. Remind me that I am already seen, already known, already loved. Remind me that I do not have to earn your approval. I do not have to prove my worth. I do not have to protect my image. I only have to abide. And in abiding, I am changed. So I begin this day not trying to be the smartest, the fastest, the best. I begin simply as I am. Dependent, loved, learning. Let that be enough. Let that be holy. Let that be the posture I carry into every moment. Every conversation, every decision, let it shape not only my thoughts, but my tone, my timing, my tenderness. Lord, humble my pride gently but thoroughly. Take what is false and replace it with what is real. Take what is self-serving and transform it into something sacred. Take what is heavy and make it light. And in all of it, may my thoughts grow quiet enough to hear you again. Not just in moments of prayer, but in the in-between, in the interruptions, in the ordinary, in the places where pride would normally rise up. Let grace take its place, and let that grace begin in me. Right now, Father, if humility begins with releasing the need to be elevated, then the next surrender is the need to be in control. I feel it now, even as I speak with you. That quiet urge within me to try and manage what I cannot, to predict what I do not know, to secure outcomes that are not mine to orchestrate. I carry within me this subtle pressure to always have a plan, to always be ready, to always be in charge. But beneath that control is fear of what might happen if I let go, fear of being caught off guard, fear of vulnerability. And yet, you invite me to release it all. Not recklessly, but in trust. You invite me to live not by management, but by dependence. God, how deeply wired this need is within me to grasp for certainty, to hold tight to my own expectations, to map out every detail of my days so I can feel safe. I do not like uncertainty. I resist delays. I shrink from the discomfort of not knowing, even in prayer. Sometimes I come to you not to surrender, but to secure a specific answer, a clear sign, a desired result. And when I do not get it, I panic. I overthink. I assume you are silent or absent, but perhaps you are simply asking me to walk by faith, not by the map I have drawn in my head. Teach me, Lord, how to live without clinging, how to make space in my heart for interruptions, for divine redirections, for outcomes that do not match my plans, but are still filled with your grace. Help me not just to say I trust you, but to actually think and act like I do, to quiet the anxious rehearsals that cycle in my mind, the scenarios I play out to protect myself from disappointment. Help me to believe that even when things do not go the way I hoped, you are still working something good, something lasting, something that cannot be ruined by human hands. Father, I know control is not the same as stewardship. You have called me to be faithful, to use wisdom, to plan with diligence. But you never asked me to be the author of outcomes. That role belongs to you. And the moment I try to take your seat, I begin to carry burdens that crush the spirit. I begin to interpret every delay as a disaster, every detour as a failure. I live in constant tension between what is and what I wanted it to be. But there is no peace in that, no joy, no life, just a quiet suffocation of the soul. So I release it. Again, today, I release the urge to manipulate results. I release the pressure to have everything figured out. I release the timeline I have imposed on you. I release the people I have tried to change. I release the expectations that keep me from embracing what is. I release the narrative in my mind that says things must happen a certain way or they are ruined. I release the illusion that I am safer when I am in control, because I am not. I am safest when I am surrendered. God, show me what it means to live with open hands, to walk into rooms without the need to impress, to enter relationships without hidden agendas, to face challenges without prewritten outcomes. Let me be fully present in the now, not anxiously ahead in what might be. Let me find freedom in the flow of grace, not in the rigidity of my plans. Let me laugh when things do not go my way and trust that joy is not dependent on predictability. Let me believe that mystery is not danger, that uncertainty is not punishment, that detours are not divine silence, but often divine strategy. You know what I do not. You see what I can see. You hold time, hearts, and healing in your hands. And I am learning, slowly. Trusting you does not mean I will always understand. It means I will stay close even when I do not. It means I will move forward when I feel unqualified. It means I will choose rest over striving, hope over panic, faith over fear. It means I will accept that I am a vessel, not the source, that I am called to obey, not control. Lord, interrupt my need to have all the answers. Let me find peace in asking questions and not always getting responses. Let me lean into the beauty of partial clarity. Let me love the one who holds the future more than I love having the future explained. Let me seek you, not just answers. Let me worship you, not just your works. Let me fall in love with the process of becoming, even when it is slower than I would prefer. when I grip life too tightly. Remind me that nothing good comes from clenched fists. Let me breathe deeply and let go. Let me believe again that you are good, and that being in control is not the same as being at peace. Let peace come not from knowing the future, but from knowing you, not from having all the solutions, but from sitting in your presence without the need to solve anything. Let trust rise slowly, like dawn breaking through night, subtle but unstoppable. Lord, if my thoughts drift toward trying to predict outcomes today, gently guide them back. If I start rehearsing what I will say in every scenario to protect myself, interrupt me. If I start manipulating people or moments to achieve a hidden goal, show me the root of that impulse. If I try to earn your favor by doing everything right, remind me that I already have your love. If I tie my worth to how well I manage things, untangle that lie. Anchor me in something more secure than control. Anchor me in you. Let my mind be steady, not reactive. Let my soul be anchored, not tossed by every possibility. Let my words be patient, not pressured. Let my decisions be birthed from prayer, not panic. Let my heart be ready to say yes when you say move, and wait when you say stay. Let me stop measuring my faith by how well things go and start measuring it by how well I trust you when they do not. You are not asking me to be God. You are asking me to follow you. And that following will often look like waiting, like detaching from the outcome, like stepping forward without guarantees. It will look like praying without needing a blueprint, like obeying without applause, like surrendering without resentment. It will look like peace that makes no sense and joy that survives uncertainty. So today, I take my hands off the steering wheel. I stop trying to forecast the weather of my future. I stop holding my breath for things to turn out just right. I breathe in the grace of what is and let it be enough. I welcome interruptions as invitations. I release the script I have written. I trade my illusion of control for the beauty of communion. And in that holy exchange, I find rest for my soul. I am not lost when plans fall apart. I am not failing when timelines shift. I am not forgotten when doors close. I am not behind when things slow down. I am exactly where I need to be when I am with you. And you are not anxious. You are not scrambling. You are not distant. You are here. You are steady. You are sovereign. You are writing a story far greater than the one I had in mind, and I trust you with every page. Father, in the quiet after surrender, I begin to see how deeply I need you to reshape the way I feel, not just the way I think. I have offered you my thoughts, my plans, my desire to control outcomes. But beneath those thoughts are emotions fragile, often wounded, often reactive emotions that rise too quickly or stay buried too long. I need you to enter the spaces where I have learned to feel out of fear instead of faith, where I have responded from pain instead of peace, where I have carried unhealed triggers into moments that asked for gentleness. God, I do not want to just think better. I want to feel differently, not by suppressing my emotions or pretending they are gone, but by allowing you to touch the roots beneath them. Touch the anger that masks my disappointment. Touch the anxiety that hides my need to be enough. Touch the irritation that is really exhaustion. Touch the moments when joy feels unsafe or hope feels naive. Touch the moments when I expect the worst, so I want to be hurt again. I bring you the rawness, not the polished version. I bring you the deep sighs, the tears that do not fall, the tension I hold in my shoulders and jaw. I bring you the emotional memories I did not even realize still controlled my present. Lord, renew my ability to respond to life through grace, not defense. When someone speaks harshly, teach me not to mirror their tone. When I feel misunderstood, help me not to spiral into self-protection. When old wounds are pressed, show me that I am not that person anymore. I am not trapped in that moment, not bound to that memory. You are renewing my mind, and I ask you to renew my reactions too. Let my first response not be panic, but prayer. Let my first instinct not be control, but trust. Let my first emotion not be dread, but a quiet strength rooted in the truth that you are with me. Even here, God, help me discern the difference between healthy emotion and old pain recycled. Let me stop blaming others for the ways I have not healed. Let me stop calling every strong emotion truth. Help me feel deeply, but not destructively. Let me validate my emotions without being ruled by them. Let me weep when I need to, without shame. Let me rejoice freely, without fear that it will be stolen. Let me be angry for what is unjust, but not stay bitter. Let me grieve without getting stuck in sorrow. Let me feel without losing sight of hope. Let my emotional world be tethered to eternity, not just circumstance. Father, there are times I avoid emotion altogether because it feels too unpredictable. I numb myself, distract myself, overwork, overscroll, overanalyze anything to avoid sitting still with what I feel. But every unprocessed emotion becomes a barrier between my soul and you. I want to meet you there in the H, in the tension, in the moments I can explain. You are not afraid of my sadness. You do not turn away from my fear. You do not rush me through grief or shame me for anger. You are the safest place for all of me, even the parts I hide from others and sometimes from myself. Renew the emotional lens through which I see people. Let me respond with compassion instead of defensiveness, curiosity instead of judgment. Let me be slow to take offense and quick to extend grace. Let me pause before reacting, breathe before assuming, and pray before speaking. Let me be emotionally present, but spiritually anchored. Let my feelings point me toward truth, not away from it. Let me trust that you made me with emotions, not as weaknesses to be conquered, but as invitations to encounter you more honestly. Sometimes I forget that Jesus felt too. He wept at death. He grew weary with crowds. He was moved with compassion. He felt anguish in Gethsemane. And yet, he never let emotion drive him away from his Father. He allowed it to deepen his connection, not sever it. That is what I want too, not a denial of feeling, but a sanctification of it. That the highs would not make me arrogant, the lows would not make me hopeless, and the in-betweens would not make me numb. That joy would not be fleeting, and sorrow would not be final. That every emotion, surrendered to you, would become a place of worship, not worry. God, show me how to tend to my emotions without letting them dictate my identity. I am not my sadness. I am not my anger. I am not my anxiety. I am not my reactions. I am not the emotion of yesterday or the mood of this morning. I am your child, and you are forming something eternal in me. You are transforming the way I feel from the inside out. I do not have to fake peace. You are cultivating it. I do not have to force joy. You are planting it. I do not have to fear sadness. You are redeeming it. Let my emotional responses be more than reflexes. Let them be reflections of healing, evidence of your spirit reshaping me. Let people notice something different, not a lack of emotion, but a steadiness within it. Let them hear it in my tone, see it in my eyes, feel it in my presence. Let my inner world be less chaotic and more connected to you. Let me no longer feel like a prisoner to my past, but a participant in the renewal you are doing in me each day. Lord, when I feel too much, hold me. When I feel nothing, awaken me. When I feel confused, guide me. When I feel overwhelmed, ground me. When I feel triggered, comfort me. When I feel abandoned, remind me I am not alone. When I feel joyful, dance with me. When I feel peace, deepen it. Let my emotional life become a garden you tend, not a battlefield, not a wasteland, but sacred soil where grace can grow. Let me welcome my emotions with wisdom. Let me explore them with you, not alone. Let me listen to them without worshiping them. Let me name them without being named by them. Let me not fear the intensity of what I feel, but invite you into it, trusting that you know what to do with every wave of emotion. You are the God who calms storms, not just the ones outside me, but the ones inside as well. So as I step into this day, I ask for emotional clarity, for calm when things escalate, for empathy when others are hard to love, for strength when emotions feel too big, for gentleness with myself when I am struggling, for patience when healing takes time. I ask for the courage to feel and the wisdom to respond. I ask for a heart not hardened by life, but softened by grace. And as I feel, I will worship. As I grieve, I will hope. As I rejoice, I will give thanks. As I process, I will listen. As I live, I will learn. And in all things, I will bring my emotions back to you, not to be judged, but to be held, not to be erased, but to be transformed, not to be silenced, but to be shaped in the quiet, in the noise, in the beauty. In the I will meet you again and again. Father, as you continue to reshape the way I feel, I realize how often my inner world remains crowded even when the room is silent. My thoughts may be stilled, my body may be still, but something inside continues to stir, a hum of restlessness, an echo of worry, a subtle tension that never seems to fully release. I come to you now not asking for more answers, but for something deeper. I ask for quiet, not the absence of noise around me, but the quiet that only comes when your presence is near and my soul finally exhales. God, it is hard to be still in a world that runs fast. Everything around me moves: notifications, news, tasks, expectations, and sometimes I carry that speed into my time with you. Even here, I sometimes rush to pray, rush to read, rush to fix, rush to feel better. But you are not in a hurry. You do not measure my worth by how quickly I move or how much I accomplish. You are the shepherd who leads beside still waters, who restores my soul slowly, gently, one breath at a time. So I pause here, in this moment, to be still, to let your stillness enter me. Lord, teach me to be present with you without performing for you. I do not need to impress you with poetic prayers or spiritual productivity. You are not evaluating me. You are inviting me to rest, to listen, to simply be with you. You love me in silence as much as in words. You meet me in the quiet places, the unspoken places, the places where language fails and only stillness speaks. In those spaces, I do not need to prove my value. I only need to breathe and remember you are near. Silence, for me, has not always felt safe. Sometimes it reminds me of loneliness, of abandonment, of emptiness. But you are redeeming even that. You are showing me that silence with you is not the absence of connection, but the fullness of it. It is where the noise of striving falls away, and I begin to feel the weight of your nearness. You do not need to speak loudly to be close. You whisper, and I lean in. You linger, and I stop running. You rest beside me, and I remember I am not alone. God, in this silence, I begin to notice what I have ignored, the H I have buried under business, the longing I have masked with distractions, the grief I have pushed aside because I did not know what to do with it, the joy I have been too afraid to feel because it felt too fleeting. All of it rises when the noise falls. And you are not afraid of what surfaces. You hold it with gentleness, not judgment. You do not rush me through the quiet. You honor it as sacred, because it is here that intimacy begins, not in the noise of activity, but in the slow unfolding of trust. Help me resist the urge to fill every moment. Help me welcome stillness not as a void to fear, but as a space to encounter you. When I wake in the morning and the world feels heavy, let me sit with you before I start running again, when I am tempted to check my phone or scroll for comfort. Let me turn first to the comfort of your presence. When the silence stretches and feels awkward, let me stay instead of fleeing. Let me believe that what you are doing in the silence is more important than what I could do in the noise. You are not absent in the quiet. You are working in ways I cannot yet see. You are restoring what hurry has fractured. You are calming the storms inside me. You are softening the places I have hardened just to survive. You are slowing down my thoughts so that truth can find its way in. You are healing me from a pace of life that was never meant to sustain me. You are reminding me that I am not a machine. I am not here to produce, but to abide. I am not here to impress, but to receive. I am not here to be efficient, but to be loved. Lord, stillness takes courage. It means facing what I have avoided. It means surrendering what I can't control. It means trusting that you are enough even when I do nothing. But that is where transformation begins, in the quiet surrender, in the laying down of constant activity, in the opening of my heart without defenses, in the quiet confession that I need you more than I need clarity. more than I need outcomes, more than I need noise to feel alive. Let me come alive in you, in silence. Let the rhythm of my life be shaped by your stillness. Let the decisions I make come from rest, not pressure. Let my words be slower, my thoughts more anchored, my reactions more thoughtful. Let my prayers begin with listening. Let my worship begin with awe. Let me be still long enough to hear the birds, to notice the wind, to see the light shift across the floor. Let me not miss the beauty woven into stillness because I was too busy moving past it. You are not the God of chaos. You are the God of peace. You are not the God of frantic energy. You are the God of Sabbath rest. You are not the God who drives me. You are the one who invites me to lie down, to rest in green pastures, to breathe beside still waters, to receive what I could never earn, to remember that before I do anything today, I am already yours, already loved, already seen, already known, and that truth is enough to quiet every fear. Even now, as I pause to breathe deeply, I sense you near. I sense you pulling me away from the noise, the rush, the need to explain myself. I sense you wrapping peace around me like a soft blanket. I sense you inviting me into a deeper stillness, not just for this moment, but for this way of life, a slower life, a sacred life, a life rooted in communion with you, not consumed by endless demands. Teach me how to carry this stillness with me into the noise, to be quiet inside even when life is loud. God, when I return to the chaos of the day, let me remember this moment. Let me carry this quiet like a candle in the dark. Let me return here again and again when I am weary. Let me build a rhythm of stillness into my days. Let me protect the quiet instead of avoiding it. Let it become a sanctuary where you meet me, where I remember who I am, where I let go of what is not mine to carry. Let silence become my strength. Let stillness become my song. Let peace become my default posture. And when I forget, when I slip back into frantic movement, when I fill every hour, when I feel disconnected again, draw me back gently. Remind me that your presence has not moved, that you are waiting for me in the quiet, that nothing I have done has changed your invitation, that I am always one breath away from peace, one pause away from clarity, one moment of stillness away from remembering what truly matters. So here I am again, not trying to do, but just to be. Not striving, but surrendering. Not fixing, but receiving. Not filling space with words, but letting space speak. I trust that in the quiet, you are speaking in ways my heart understands. You are renewing me without noise. You are healing me without rush. You are loving me without conditions. And for today, that is enough. Father, if silence has become a doorway to your peace, then this next step feels like a deeper unveiling. As I sit with the stillness you have taught me to cherish, something buried begins to surface, a quiet H, a familiar shadow, a tender but persistent voice that has long whispered, I am not enough. It is subtle but steady, and I realize how deeply the wound of unworthiness has shaped the way I show up in life. In relationships, even in prayer. I bring it to you now, not to hide, but to finally let it breathe in the light of your presence. Lord, how often I have dressed myself in accomplishments, in goodness, in competence, hoping I would be accepted, hoping I would be loved. How often I have measured my worth by what I produce, by how little I need, by how much I can handle, and yet beneath it all, there lingers a fragile thread of fear that maybe, just maybe, I am not truly enough, not for others, not for purpose, not even for you. It is a fear I have carried like armor polished on the outside, but heavy on the soul. But you, God, are not asking for polish. You are not impressed by perfection. You are not drawn to performance. You see through it all down to the little child in me, who once believed love had to be earned. You do not shame that child. You do not scold or dismiss. You kneel. You meet me at that wounded place. You take my face in your hands, not to correct, but to comfort, not to fix, but to embrace. You whisper what I have long forgotten, that I am already chosen, already loved, already enough. Still, it is hard to believe. It is hard to accept grace when I have been trained to strive. Hard to receive love without earning it. Hard to sit in acceptance when my mind keeps pointing to flaws and failings. And yet, you are patient. You do not force belief. You simply stay. You keep loving me in the moments I feel least lovable. You keep showing up when I expect rejection. You keep delighting in me when I bring nothing but my weary self to the table. You have never asked me to be worthy. You have declared me beloved. Before I ever lifted a hand to do anything noble, before I ever prayed a right word or resisted a wrong one, before I ever made a mess or tried to clean it up, you called me yours, not because of what I could give you, but because of who you are. You love because it is your nature. You redeem because it is your joy. You embrace because you cannot help but welcome what you created. Lord, let that truth sink in deeper than the lie. Let it soak into the cracks where shame once lived. Let it overwrite the messages I absorbed from rejection, from comparison, from a world that only applauds the strongest, the smartest, the most put together. Let your love become the louder voice. Let your delight become the foundation I walk upon. Let your mercy become the rhythm that rewrites my internal dialogue. I am not a mistake trying to earn repair. I am a miracle still unfolding, still loved through every stage. God, when I doubt again, and I will remind me gently. Remind me through the kindness of a stranger, through the laughter of someone who knows me well, through the stillness that settles when I stop striving, through the scriptures that echo with grace, through the sunrise that rises whether I deserve it or not. Show me in 100 subtle ways that my worth is not fragile, that it does not increase with success or decrease with failure, that it is held by you and therefore cannot be lost. And when the voice returns the one that accuses, that measures, that mocks, give me courage to speak back with truth, to say, I am not what I fear. I am not what I have failed. I am not what I lack. I am loved. I am known. I am cherished. I am enough not because I have proven it, but because you have spoken it. Let me speak it aloud over my life until my heart begins to believe what my mouth declares, until the lies grow quiet, until the shame loses its grip. Help me walk through this day differently, because I know I am already enough. Let that truth change the way I speak to myself. Let it soften the way I speak to others. Let it free me from comparison. Let it slow my rush to perform. Let it make space for joy. Let it turn my striving into rest. Let it turn my insecurity into compassion. Let it turn my guarded heart into one that receives love freely and gives it without condition. Lord, I do not want to hide anymore, not behind business, not behind pretending, not behind endless accomplishments. I want to live from a heart unburdened by shame, a heart that no longer hustles for approval, a heart that believes it is enough, even when it is still healing, even when it is still learning, even when it gets it wrong. A heart that believes you look at me with tenderness, not disappointment, with joy, not scrutiny. I want to live loved, not just know I am loved. I want to move through this world, not as one desperate for affirmation, but as one overflowing with grace. I want to parent, to lead, to serve, to create, to simply exist from a place of belovedness. I want that truth to be my beginning, not my reward, my baseline, not my achievement. That be the well I draw from, the compass that guides me, the soil I plant my roots in, the song I wake up humming. There will be days I forget again, days I feel behind, days I feel invisible, days I wonder if I matter. But even then, you will remain. Your love will not withdraw. Your voice will not abandon. Your hands will not grow tired of lifting me. Your grace will not run out. And when I cannot find my way back to the truth, you will carry it to me. You will hold it until I am ready to receive it again. Father, I surrender the story I have believed that I had to earn it all. I surrender the shame I have hidden, the masks I have worn, the pressure I have lived under, the roles I have played to feel enough. I lay it all down, and I open my hands to receive what cannot be earned, your love, full and free, your delight in me, unearned and unwavering, your voice that calls me beloved even in the mess, your eyes that see through every failure and still choose to stay. Let me live this day from that place. Let me respond to others not from defensiveness, but from belovedness. Let me make decisions not from fear of falling short, but from confidence in your approval. Let me rest in the knowing that I am held, that I am enough in you, that nothing I do today can separate me from that truth. Let that assurance wrap around every moment like a gentle echo, reminding me I am seen, I am loved, I am already enough. Father, if being enough in your eyes has quieted the H of unworthiness, then let that healing become the ground where new thoughts are planted. As I sit in the stillness of this morning, I feel you gently calling me further, not just to be counted by truth, but to be transformed by it. You invite me not only to rest in being loved, but to begin thinking like someone who is truly free. This renewal, this deep reshaping of how I perceive, respond, and imagine is the work I now open myself to, not a striving, but a surrender, not a pressure, but a process. God, you speak of a renewed mind, one that reflects the mind of Christ, a mind that does not conform to fear, scarcity, pride, or bitterness, a mind that sees differently, chooses differently, reacts differently, one that no longer obsesses over approval or dwells in anxiety, but one that is rooted in grace and fed by eternal perspective. And so I ask not just for fleeting moments of clarity, but for a sustained transformation in how I think, decide, interpret, and hope. Let me not just believe in you with my heart, but begin thinking with you in my mind. So many thoughts still come automatically, harsh judgments of myself, assumptions about others, spirals of worry, and narratives shaped by wounds rather than wisdom. But you, Lord, do not shame me for those thoughts. You simply offer a better way. You extend the mind of Christ as both invitation and inheritance. You do not demand I earn it. You simply ask that I allow you to reshape my thoughts, one surrendered moment at a time. I choose now to lay down the thoughts that no longer serve life, the ones that echo with accusation, the ones that rehearse worst-case scenarios, the ones that keep replaying past mistakes like a broken song. I release them into your hands, not to push them away with guilt, but to hand them over with trust. Replace them, Lord, with the thoughts that flow from your spirit, peaceful, patient, hope-filled, kind, grounded in truth, alive with mercy. Help me become aware of what I think when no one is watching. Help me recognize the patterns that lead to fear, the assumptions that lead to division, the self-talk that leads to shame. Help me catch them not with self-condemnation, but with curiosity and compassion. Let me begin seeing each thought not as a fixed reality, but as a seed I can choose to water or not. Let me become a gardener of my inner life, aware of what I am growing. Let me cultivate thoughts that reflect trust in your sovereignty, thoughts that remember I am not alone in any room I walk into, thoughts that believe provision is already on its way, thoughts that speak gently to my limitations, thoughts that choose to forgive, even when anger feels more justified, thoughts that release what cannot be controlled, and rest in the assurance that you are already ahead of me. Lord, give me the courage to be honest with my thoughts, to name them, bring them into the light, and invite you to speak into them. Let no corner of my mind remain hidden from your grace, not the places where envy hides, or the places where pride subtly roots itself, not the fears I have rationalized, or the prejudices I have left unchallenged. Shine light into it all, not to shame, but to heal, to renew, to rewire with love. Teach me to recognize the voice of the enemy when he tries to disguise lies as logic, when he dresses up accusation as responsibility, when he uses guilt as a motivator and fear as a guide. Let me see those traps for what they are, and let me respond with your truth, not just memorized, but internalized, not just spoken aloud, but believed from within. Let your word become the compass of my inner world, not just a decoration on the outside. Give me strength, Lord, to pause before reacting, to question the thought before following it, to slow the spiral with a breath and a prayer, to interrupt the narrative with grace, to take every thought captive not through force, but through gentle awareness. Tethered to your truth, let my mind become a space where peace lives, where faith finds room to grow, where joy is not squeezed out by fear. I do not want to live reactive to everything around me. I want to become someone who creates calm within chaos, who speaks from clarity, not confusion, who loves without agenda and listens without defensiveness, who is so deeply anchored in your truth that even when storms come, I remain steady, not because I am strong, but because my mind is fixed on you, because I have chosen to let your spirit shape the way I see. Help me imagine a life that reflects the beauty of this new way of thinking, a life where my decisions are shaped by discernment, not pressure, a life where I pursue purpose instead of performing for validation, a life where I am not at war with myself in my own thoughts, a life where I extend to others the same grace you extend to me, a life that is light, not heavy, focused, not frantic, rested, not restless. Lord, when I am tempted to fall back into old patterns, to catastrophize, to overanalyze, to dwell in insecurity, gently redirect me. Whisper a better thought. Invite me again into the spacious place where grace lives. Show me the path out of mental ruts and into holy renewal. Make me resilient, not by hardening my mind, but by softening it with truth. Let your spirit breathe new life into old ways of thinking. Thank you for giving me the mind of Christ, not as a concept, but as a living reality I can step into each day. Help me grow into it slowly, faithfully, with grace for myself. Let the renewal of my mind be a daily awakening, not a single moment of change. Let it be a journey, not a judgment. Let it be a process, not a performance. And in each small shift, let me see evidence that your spirit is at work. Today, may my thoughts reflect your hope. May my words reflect your peace. May my choices reflect your wisdom. May my presence reflect your love. And when I forget, when I fall into old ways, let me not stay there long. Let me return quickly to the place where renewal begins, not in guilt, but in grace, not in striving, but in surrender, not in self-effort, but in the quiet awareness that you are with me, shaping me, renewing me, thought by thought, moment by moment. Lord, as my thoughts begin to quiet and my spirit settles into your presence, I realize how deeply you have been working not only to renew my mind, but to realign my sense of time. So often I have rushed through seasons, pressed for answers, strained for control, and clung to urgency as if it were virtue. But now, I feel you calling me deeper, into the unhurried rhythms of trust, into the sacred patience of those who have learned to wait not with anxiety, but with assurance. You are not bound by my clock, and if I am truly yours, neither am I. Father, I confess that waiting is not natural for me. I am often tempted to believe that silence means absence, that delay means denial, and that stillness means stagnation. But you are showing me something different, that what feels like a pause may actually be preparation, that what seems like withholding is often a form of healing, that your not yet is never careless, but always crafted with love. And so I bring before you the fragile places in me that still resist your timing, the places that want to fix, force, or flee instead of wait. I have prayed prayers that seem to disappear into the sky. I have longed for doors to open that remain shut without explanation. I have watched others move ahead while I felt left behind. And yet, through every delay, you have remained steady. You have never abandoned the process. You have never wasted the waiting. Even when I did not see it, you were writing a story more intricate than I could imagine. You were growing roots I did not know I needed. You were stretching my faith so it could carry the weight of what was to come. Let me learn to see time through your eyes, not as a race to be won or a schedule to be conquered, but as a canvas of grace. Teach me to trust the slowness that shapes depth. Teach me to believe that progress is not always visible. Teach me to release the timelines I have built in fear and receive the unfolding of your will as it comes. Not when I demand it, but when you, in your perfect wisdom, know I am ready to receive it. There are dreams I carry, Lord, that feel suspended in midair, hopes that stir in me like unfinished sentences. But instead of grasping for premature answers, I want to hold them loosely, like seeds entrusted to soil. I want to let time become a friend instead of a foe. I want to let each day be a step, not a test. I want to believe that nothing delayed is ever lost in your hands. That what you begin, you always complete. Not always on my timeline, but always in your perfect faithfulness. When I grow restless, meet me there with your stillness. When I grow weary of waiting, meet me there with your peace. When I grow bitter at what has not come, meet me there with your kindness. Let your spirit whisper into my impatience, not to silence my longing, but to steady it, to anchor it in trust rather than tension, to fill the waiting with worship, not worry, to remind me that what you are doing in me is just as important as what I am waiting for. God, remind me that the delays are not rejections, that sometimes what I call stuck is actually you holding me back for my protection, that sometimes the closed door is saving me from a trap I cannot yet see, that the unanswered prayer is not a punishment, but a preservation, that the slow season is not pointless, but a sacred space where roots grow deep and strength is built. Help me see time not as an enemy, but as a tool you use with perfect precision. In moments when everything seems paused, let me pause not to give up, but to give over, not to freeze in fear, but to rest in faith. Let the gaps between my prayers and their answers become altars where I worship, not graves where I grieve. Let me hold space for you to move in ways I did not anticipate. Let me stay open to answers that look different from what I pictured. Let me be surprised by the beauty that blossoms in places I thought were barren, when others move forward and I remain still. Teach me to bless them without bitterness. Teach me to celebrate their breakthroughs without comparing my timeline. Teach me to remember that your plans for me are never diminished by what you do for someone else. That my waiting does not mean I am forgotten, that your love is not measured by speed, but by depth. And you, Lord, are nothing if not deep. Let me walk through each day with a heart that trusts, even when the path is unclear. Let me rise each morning not asking, "How long must I wait?" but declaring, "How deeply I am loved." Even in the waiting, let that shift change everything. Let it carry me through delays with dignity, through disappointments with resilience, through detours with peace, because your timing is not my enemy, it is my protection, my refinement, my invitation to intimacy with you. Father, thank you for not rushing me. Thank you for not answering all my prayers instantly. Thank you for using time to show me what truly matters, for using waiting to detox my soul from false dependencies, for using seasons of delay to teach me that I am not what I achieve, acquire, or accomplish. I am yours, and that truth is enough in every season, even the slow ones. Let my life become a witness, not only of faith that moves mountains, but of faith that endures the long valley between promise and fulfillment. Let me embody the kind of trust that waits with open hands and unguarded heart. Let me become the kind of person who has learned to dwell fully in the present, not constantly grasping for the future. Let me live in a way that honors the season I am in, instead of rushing through it in search of the next. And when I look back one day and see how every delay served a deeper purpose, let gratitude overflow, not only for what eventually came, but for who I became in the process, for the patience that softened me, for the hope that deepened, for the faith that was no longer fragile. Let the journey of waiting itself become a treasure because you were in it, because it drew me closer, because it prepared me for things I once thought I was ready for, but truly was not. Today, I choose to surrender my timelines. I choose to trust in what I cannot see. I choose to let go of the false urgency that exhausts my soul. And I choose to believe that even now, you are at work in ways I do not perceive, through means I do not control, for outcomes more beautiful than I could plan. Let me wait well. Let me wait with joy. Let me wait with the quiet confidence of a heart that knows. You are never late. You are always good. You are, even now, working all things together for good. Father, even as I learn to wait in your timing, I feel you drawing me toward a deeper surrender, not just of outcomes, but of identity. I sense you inviting me to release what no longer serves me, to let go not only of broken dreams or unmet expectations, but of the parts of myself that were never truly mine to carry, the defenses I built out of fear, the masks I wore to feel worthy, the habits that numbed instead of healed. I am ready, God, not just to be comforted, but to be transformed. You know how tightly I have clung to certain versions of myself. The self that tried to be everything for everyone. The self that performed to be accepted. The self that avoided pain at any cost. The self that measured worth in productivity. These selves were not born from love, but from survival. And though they protected me once, now they only keep me from becoming who I was made to be. I no longer want to serve a false self just to feel safe. I want to be free, truly free. So Lord, begin again with me. Strip away the layers I have wrapped around my soul. Unravel the lies I have mistaken for truth. Unwind the stories I have repeated to myself that kept me small, ashamed, or stuck. Help me no longer define myself by wounds I have endured or mistakes I have made. I am not what happened to me. I am not who others expected me to be. I am yours, and that means I can be made new not by striving harder, but by releasing more. I lay down the old narratives today, the ones that told me I am too much or not enough, the ones that said I have to earn love or prove my value, the ones that taught me to hide my weakness instead of letting you heal it. I bring them all to you, tired and trembling, and ask you to replace them with truth, not the kind that shouts or shames, but the kind that sinks in slowly, like water into dry ground, the kind that tells me I am loved simply because I breathe, because you chose me before I could choose you. There is grief in letting go, even of what no longer serves. It is hard to release what has become familiar, even if it is heavy, but I do not want to carry weight that keeps me from rising. I do not want to cling to the person I had to be, at the cost of becoming who you created me to be. So help me, Father, to mourn what I must leave behind without going back to pick it up again. Help me to trust that what you are calling me into is not only different, but better, not because I will be perfect, but because I will be whole. It feels vulnerable, this shedding of the old. It feels risky to open my hands and let the past fall away. But you do not ask me to let go without offering something greater in return. You offer me a new self rooted not in fear, but in faith, not in performance, but in presence, not in scarcity, but in the sufficiency of your love. You offer me peace in place of pretending, purpose in place of proving, joy that does not demand perfection to exist. So I let go of the need to be right all the time. I let go of the fear of being misunderstood. I let go of the shame that wraps around my memories. I let go of the comparison that steals contentment. I let go of the walls that kept me isolated. I let go of the rush to fix myself before I come to you. I come now as I am, believing you are not intimidated by my mess, but delighted by my willingness to be molded. Let me no longer live from an identity shaped by failure, fear, or the fragments of who I used to be. Let me live from the truth that I am a new creation in you, that what was broken does not define what is being built, that every piece of me, even the most tender ones, is being renewed by grace. I do not have to pretend to be strong when I am not. I do not have to act like I have it all together. You already know where I am, and you meet me here with mercy that does not shame, but restores. Lord, I want to be someone who moves through the world unburdened, not because life is easy, but because I no longer carry what is not mine. I want to walk in freedom, not fear, in truth, not projection, in compassion, not criticism, in vulnerability, not armor. Let each step forward be one where I leave behind more of what is false and take with me more of what is real. Real peace, real courage, real love that has nothing to prove. I no longer want to serve the illusions I built in pain. I want to serve the purpose you have written into my very being. Let me live in alignment with who you say I am, not who the world demands I be. Let me reflect the kindness you show me, instead of the judgment I learned from others. Let me breathe deeply, no longer choking on the need to impress or conform. Let me be rooted in grace and growing in the quiet strength of someone finally becoming whole. Even as I surrender the old self, there may be moments I am tempted to return to it, the familiar pull of old reactions, old fears, old patterns. But I ask you to gently interrupt those moments. Remind me I do not live there anymore. Remind me that healing is not about pretending I was never wounded, but about choosing differently now that I know I am loved. I am not defined by the season I was stuck in. I am being remade, renewed, reclaimed. Thank you, God, that transformation does not require perfection, that you are not waiting for a flawless version of me to finally begin the work. You already have. You are already reshaping my thoughts, realigning my heart, rebuilding the foundation on which I stand. And that foundation is not achievement, not accolades, not affirmation from others. It is the quiet, steady truth that I belong to you. That is enough. That is the soil where freedom grows. Let me wake each morning, not just asking for strength to survive, but for courage to continue becoming. Let me look in the mirror and see not just what needs to change, but what has already been redeemed. Let me speak to myself with gentleness. Let me offer myself patience. Let me walk away from shame not by denying it, but by no longer giving it power over me. I do not have to keep carrying what you already came to set me free from. God, as I release these old pieces of myself, I ask you to fill the empty places with something new. New thoughts grounded in truth. New habits rooted in grace. New relationships marked by honesty and safety. New vision for what my life can look like when it is not ruled by fear. Help me walk forward not in fear of who I will be without the old self, but in anticipation of who I am becoming because of you. I may not yet see the fullness of this new self, but I trust you do, and that is enough. Lord, I wake again with the gentle sense that you are already near, already speaking before I form a single thought, and from where I left off yesterday in the stillness, in the quiet trust I feel you drawing me onward, deeper into the mystery of being renewed not just in belief but in perspective. There is a sacred rhythm I am learning to recognize, not rushed or loud, but subtle and steady, like waves brushing a shoreline, changing the shape of my inner landscape without violence. Only consistency. It is here that I learn again how to think with the mind of Christ, how to filter my thoughts not through fear, but through truth. Even now, I notice how quickly I drift. One distraction, one memory, one sentence from someone else, and suddenly my thoughts are tangled again. But instead of shame, I bring you my wandering attention like a child bringing a broken toy, hoping you can make it whole, and you always do, with patient hands. You reframe what I was so quick to label wrong, and you teach me how to return not once, not twice, but again and again. I used to believe that transformation was a moment, but you are showing me it is a daily return, a faithful coming back to what is real and holy and unseen. God. Some thoughts are heavier than others. Some feel like thorns in the flesh, patterns that refuse to die easily. I confess that I have often tried to conquer them on my own, with logic or avoidance or distraction. But your Spirit invites me to a different path, the path of surrender, of bringing these thoughts into the light rather than hiding them in shame. You remind me that healing is not linear, and that renewal does not mean pretending the battle is not real. It means believing you are in it with me. Even on the days when I feel weary of the fight, in this moment, I ask you to come into the places of repetition, where anxiety loops, where doubt echoes, where old lies whisper still. I lay before you the beliefs I picked up along the way that do not align with your heart, the ones that say I am not enough unless I am achieving, the ones that say I am too broken to be used, the ones that say I have to earn what you have already freely given. Pull them out gently, Lord, not in anger but in grace. And where you remove these weeds, plant seeds of truth. Teach me to recognize the voice of condemnation and silence it with your mercy. Replace the inner critic with the shepherd who leads without shame. Today, I want to think thoughts that are aligned with life, not fear, with peace, not panic, with eternity, not just urgency. Let my inner world be shaped more by scripture than by headlines, more by hope than habit. Let your word become not just verses I memorize, but lenses through which I see everything myself, others, even pain, when I feel pressed by deadlines or people's expectations. Remind me that you are never in a hurry, and that rushing rarely leads to wisdom. Slow me down enough to see what you are doing beneath the surface. You have never demanded perfection from my thoughts, only that I bring them captive to you. So I open the gates now, the places I have kept locked because they were too confusing or too painful. Thoughts about my future, thoughts about my past, thoughts I have had about myself that I never dared speak aloud. Nothing is too dark for your light. Nothing is too twisted that you cannot untangle. You do not just prune the branches. You nourish the root. You get to the very foundation, the starting point of how I see the world, and you begin again with grace. Father, help me to recognize the influence of what I consume, what I read, what I watch, who I listen to, and how these things shape the garden of my mind. Let me be discerning, not paranoid. Let me be wise without becoming suspicious. Let me set my mind on what is lovely, noble, pure, not by ignoring the brokenness around me, but by refusing to let it dictate my inner atmosphere. There is a difference between being aware of evil and being obsessed with it. Teach me to carry awareness without carrying despair. Teach me to be informed but not infected. And above all, teach me how to renew others through the overflow of what you are doing in me. I long for a mind that is not just alert but anchored, not just quick but quiet, not just busy but built on truth. Let my thoughts not be ruled by reaction, but by revelation. Even when I am provoked, even when I feel misunderstood, help me pause long enough to respond with your mind and not just my emotion. This is not denial, it is discipline. This is not passivity, it is power under control. There is strength in stillness, and I want to live from that strength. As I step into today, I know I will face choices, what to believe, what to dwell on, what to say aloud, and I know that every choice is a seed. Some will grow quickly, some will remain hidden, some will die and need replanting, but all of them matter. So help me be intentional. Help me speak to myself with the same grace I would offer a friend. Help me replace sarcasm with sincerity, harshness with honesty, perfectionism with peace. You are not the voice of pressure or panic. You are the voice that calls me beloved even when I have forgotten how to be gentle with myself. Let the thoughts I think in secret shape the actions I take in public. Let there be integrity between my inner world and the outer one. Let there be healing where I have been divided. I no longer want to present one face to the world while hiding another from you. I want to be whole, not polished, not impressive, just whole. And if that means being vulnerable, then meet me in the vulnerability. If it means confessing weakness, then hold me in the weakness. I would rather be known by you in my mess than admired by others in a mask. So I breathe deeply now, not to escape, but to arrive. I breathe as an act of surrender, as a reminder that this day is not mine to control, but yours to guide. I will not obsess over what I cannot predict. I will not rehearse outcomes I may never face. I will trust that whatever comes, you will renew me again, and again, and again. And even if my mind forgets everything by nightfall, let my spirit remember this, that I am not alone in this renewal, that every thought held captive to Christ is a declaration of freedom, that every renewed mindset is a step toward wholeness, that you are forming in me a mind that reflects your heart, and that is a miracle unfolding, one surrendered thought at a time. Lord, as I continue in this journey of renewal, I feel you calling me even deeper, not just into the reshaping of thoughts, but into the transformation of desire. You have walked with me through the layers of old patterns, the tangled roots of belief that once grew wild and unchecked. Now, I sense your spirit leaning in, whispering not only about what I think, but about what I want, what I long for, reach toward, and pursue in the quiet places of my heart. Renewal, I see now, is not only about correcting the mind, but also about realigning the will. And the will, stubborn as it may be, is where so many battles begin. I bring you now my motives, Father, the ones I understand and the ones I do not, the ones that drive my decisions when no one's looking, the ones shaped by wounds, by fears, by old dreams that were never really mine. I place them on the table, not in fear of judgment, but in hope of healing. I know you do not reject the parts of me that are still in process. You are not threatened by my confusion. You do not turn away from my inner wrestling. Instead, you invite me to wrestle honestly. You invite me to trust you with even the pieces I cannot yet name. God, it is so easy to chase the wrong things and call it passion, to pursue applause and call it calling, to grasp for security and call it wisdom. But you see the heart, and you ask me to let you purify not only my behavior, but my hunger. I confess that there have been times when I have asked you to bless what I was never meant to pursue. I have run after achievements that left me empty, validation that never lasted, and platforms that fed the ego but starved the soul. And still, in your kindness, you did not shame me. You simply waited, gently unraveling the false promises and teaching me again what truly satisfies. Father, teach me what it means to want what you want, not out of duty, but out of delight. Show me how to desire the eternal more than the urgent, the quiet more than the flashy, the faithful more than the fast. I do not want to live distracted, always chasing the next thing. I want to be rooted, grounded, satisfied in the places you have planted me, even if it is small, even if no one sees, even if it feels hidden. You do not measure value the way the world does. You do not rush the harvest. And if you are not in it, I do not want it no matter how impressive it may seem. I bring to you today the plans I have held tightly, the dreams I have curated, the goals I have written in journals, the things I have secretly hoped would come true. I hold them with open hands now, not because they are wrong, but because I trust you more than I trust my vision. If there is anything in them that needs to be reworked, redirect me. If there is something I have missed, illuminate it. If I have been clinging to a version of success that does not honor you, give me the courage to let it go. I do not want to build towers in my name. I want to walk paths you have already prepared. And yet, Lord, I also confess the fear that sometimes rises when I think about surrendering desire. What if your plan leads me through valleys I would rather avoid? What if your calling looks different than what I had imagined? But even as I whisper those questions, I know you are good, and your goodness is not proven by comfort, but by closeness. You do not just chart a path and send me off. You walk beside me, guiding, adjusting, refining as we go. And even if I do not know the full destination, I can rest in the certainty of your presence. So today, refine my will, shape my wantings, bend my heart toward yours. Let obedience not be a burden, but a joy. Let following you feel less like loss and more like liberation. I no longer want to live by the tyranny of should and must. I want to live by the rhythm of grace, where obedience is not performance, but participation. I do not have to force what you are already blessing. I do not have to manipulate what you have already ordained. All I have to do is stay close, stay honest, and stay open. And Lord, as you do this work within me, help me not to compare my journey to anyone else's. Teach me to celebrate without competing, to admire without envying, to cheer for others without questioning my own place. Your plans are not limited, and your blessings are not scarce. There is enough purpose in you for all of us. I do not have to outpace anyone to be valuable. I do not have to prove myself to be seen. You already see me. You already know me. You already delight in me as I am, and that frees me to become who I was always meant to be. Help me also to discern when my desires are rooted in wounding, when I chase love because I feel unloved, when I seek approval because I feel unseen, when I strive for success to numb the ache of past failures. Go to the root, Lord, heal what needs healing. Reveal what needs revealing. Redeem what was once distorted by pain. I do not want my future to be defined by my past. I want to live with holy desire that flows from healing, not from hurt. There are moments, Lord, when I feel directionless, like I am walking but not moving, like I am busy but not becoming. Remind me in those moments that growth is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like small decisions. Quiet prayers. Unnoticed kindness. Sometimes it is in the waiting, the pausing, the unglamorous yes. Let me not despise the slow seasons. Let me not mistake hiddenness for punishment. You often do your deepest work away from the spotlight. You are more concerned with roots than with results. So as I walk into today, help me to ask better questions. Not what do I want, but what are you doing? Not how can I get ahead, but how can I go deeper? Not how can I impress, but how can I be faithful? These are the questions that shape the soul. These are the questions that lead to a life of peace. And peace, I now understand, is not the absence of longing. It is the presence of surrendered longing, where desire no longer drives me into striving, but draws me into intimacy with you. Thank you, God, for not only renewing my mind, but awakening my heart, for replacing restlessness with revelation, for untangling my motives and planting new ones that reflect your beauty. I know there will be days when I forget, days when I reach again for control, days when the old hunger returns. But even then, I will come back here, to this quiet place, to this sacred altar of surrender, to this honest space where you meet me not with shame, but with tenderness, and where you shape my will, one desire at a time. Father, as I sit in this stillness with you, my soul breathes deeply. There is a softness in the silence, a peace that stretches beyond words. And from the place where desire has begun to yield to your will, something new is beginning to grow: dependence. A holy dependence that does not spring from weakness, but from the quiet understanding that I was never made to carry life on my own. I was made for connection, for communion, for the steady rhythm of walking with you, moment by moment, breath by breath. It humbles me, Lord, to see how easily I forget this, how quickly I slip into self-reliance, mistaking movement for maturity, action for authority. I rush ahead thinking I am strong, only to find my strength unraveling when challenges come. And still, you do not accuse, you simply remind. You draw me back not with harshness, but with the gentle tug of grace. You teach me again that your way is not about trying harder, but about leaning deeper. And leaning, I now realize, requires trust. Teach me to trust you more, not only when the path is clear, but when it is hidden in fog, not only when I feel empowered, but when I feel fragile. It is in the fragile places that your strength shines brightest. It is there that dependence stops feeling like defeat and begins to feel like freedom. I do not have to pretend to be enough. I only have to be honest, to open my hands, to admit my need. Because when I do, you meet me there not with condemnation, but with presence. God, There are so many voices that tell me I should have it all together. That maturity means independence. That faith means never questioning. That growth means no longer needing help. But those are not your truths. You never asked me to be a fortress. You asked me to be a branch connected to the vine, drawing life from you, bearing fruit not by effort, but by abiding. So I return to abiding today. I return to stillness. I return to dependence, not as a last resort, but as my first language. Remind me, Lord, that I was never meant to navigate this world by logic alone. That discernment is not the same as calculation. That wisdom is not the same as control. So often, I try to anticipate outcomes, to chart contingencies, to manage risk as if I were sovereign. But I am not sovereign. You are. And you do not need me to figure everything out. You simply ask me to follow, to listen, to obey even when the steps make little sense to my human reasoning. I lift to you the uncertainties that try to choke my peace, the what-ifs, the unanswered questions, the open loops my mind cannot seem to close. I place them at your feet, not because I have found all the answers, but because I have found you, and you are enough. Your presence is the answer that quiets fear. Your voice is the anchor that stills the storm. I no longer want clarity more than I want you. I want to be led, not just informed. I want to walk by faith, not just by insight. Lord, help me trust that you are already in the places I am afraid to go. That you are not just preparing the path ahead, but preparing me for the path. That even delays are not denials, and silence does not mean absence. I may not see how you are working, but that does not mean you are not. Sometimes, the greatest miracles happen in the invisible, the shifting of hearts, the softening of pride, the protection I did not know I needed. Help me to see with faith, not just with sight. I bring to you the people I love, those I want to protect, help, fix, rescue. It is hard to admit how much I carry them in my heart, sometimes to the point of anxiety. I want to hold them, but not in a way that tightens control. Teach me to intercede without clinging, to love without overreaching, to pray without panic. They belong to you, and you love them even more than I do. Help me to entrust them to you not in word only, but in the posture of my heart. And Lord, when I feel stretched beyond my limits, remind me that you are not asking me to be more than I am. You are simply asking me to be with you, to come close, to stop performing, to rest in the truth that you are not measuring my worth by my output. You delight in me because I am yours, not because I have done enough. What a relief it is to know that I can simply be, and you are still near. In moments of weariness, remind me that you are my strength, not a concept, not a metaphor, but a real and present help. When I run out of words, you are still speaking. When I run out of direction, you are still leading. When I run out of energy, you are still sustaining. There is nothing you expect of me that you do not also empower. You never demand fruit without offering water. Never call me into battle without also clothing me in armor. You are not a distant commander. You are a present shepherd. I want to walk through today fully aware of that nearness. I want to speak from dependence, act from dependence, respond from dependence, not anxious dependence that fears failure, but joyful dependence that trusts the outcome to you. You are the vine, I am the branch. That is enough. If I stay connected, I will bear fruit. And if I lose my way, you will find me. You always do. In the places where I am tempted to prove myself. Calm me. In the places where I am tempted to isolate, draw me out. In the places where I am tempted to hide my need, invite me into honesty. You are not repelled by my need. You are drawn to it. It is the soil where you plant the seeds of grace, where you water them with mercy, where you grow something more beautiful than self-sufficiency ever could. Thank you for inviting me into a life that does not depend on perfection, but on proximity. A life where weakness is not a flaw, but a doorway. A life where I can admit I need help, and find that help waiting not with judgment, but with kindness. I want to live in that space, Lord. I want to build my days around that truth, to see my dependence not as something to overcome, but as something to embrace, because in that space, I see you more clearly. In that space, I experience you more deeply, and in that space, I find rest. So here I am again. Father, hands open, heart surrendered, mind yielded. I do not have to know what is coming next. I just need to know that you will be there, and I do. So I breathe deep, I lift my gaze, and I step forward not in my own strength, but in yours. Father, you meet me again in the hush of this morning. The world is just beginning to stir, but you have been awake through the night, watching over every breath I took, every turn in my sleep, every whispered worry I did not speak aloud. You were there in the quiet of my dreams, and you are here now in the awakening of my spirit. And as I gather my thoughts in your presence, I realize something new is unfolding in me, a gentle awakening to the power of your peace. It is a peace that does not ignore the storm, but speaks in the middle of it. A peace that comes not from the absence of conflict, but from the certainty of your presence. You have not promised me a life without struggle, but you have promised me yourself. You have promised to walk with me through every valley, to speak truth in every confusion, to steady my soul when the ground beneath me feels uncertain. And today, I choose to rest in that promise again. I bring before you the unrest I often carry inside. That quiet tension that pulls at my thoughts. I confess how easily I slip into a mindset of control, of trying to manage what is not mine to carry. Even in small things, I try to orchestrate, to fix, to anticipate, and in doing so, I exhaust myself. But you remind me that I am not the keeper of the universe. I am not the one who holds it all together. You are. You always have been, and that truth is not a burden. It is a release. Lord, teach me to release what I was never meant to grasp so tightly. Teach me the sacred rhythm of surrender, not as an act of defeat, but as an act of trust. I want to surrender not out of resignation, but out of reverence, not because I have run out of strength, but because I have discovered a deeper one, yours, the strength that is made perfect in my weakness. the strength that does not depend on striving, but is rooted in stillness. Let my soul grow still in you today. Let my thoughts anchor in your truth. Let my emotions settle in your grace. I know that chaos will try to rise around me, distractions, fears, responsibilities, voices that compete for my attention. But you have not called me to live from reaction. You have called me to live from rest, a holy rest, not laziness, not passivity, but a rest that comes from abiding in the one who never grows weary. Help me to abide, not as a duty, but as a delight. Help me to make space in my day, not just for activity, but for awareness. I want to be aware of you not just when I am praying, but when I am walking, when I am working, when I am speaking, when I am simply breathing. You are not far. You are never distant. You are as close as the air in my lungs, as near as the thought behind my words. Let that closeness shape everything. Lord, I invite you into the moments I have already planned. The meetings, the conversations, the decisions, but I also invite you into the moments I have not seen coming, the interruptions, the disappointments, the unexpected grace. Prepare me to be flexible, not just with my schedule, but with my spirit. Bend me gently where I have grown rigid. Soften me where I have become defensive. Remind me that presence is more powerful than performance. Let me be present today, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, soulfully, present to the people I encounter, present to the opportunities you place before me, present to the whispers of your spirit that often come in the midst of the ordinary. Teach me to see interruptions as invitations, to treat strangers as sacred, to notice the beauty I so often overlook because I am in a rush to get somewhere else. I do not want to miss you today, Lord. Not because you are not here, but because my eyes are too busy scanning the horizon. Slow me down, not in pace, but in posture. Give me a heart that listens more than it speaks, a mind that pauses before it reacts, a soul that seeks wisdom before it seeks control. I want to move through today not as a storm chaser, but as a peace carrier. I want to leave traces of you wherever I go, not through force, but through the fragrance of grace. God, in the moments when anxiety rises uninvited, teach me to breathe deeply and return to you. In the moments when criticism stings or comparison steals joy, remind me who I am in you. In the moments when disappointment whispers that I am behind, lift my chin and help me remember that I walk on your timeline, not the world's. You are not hurried. You are not worried. And if I walk with you, I have no reason to be either. Let this day be marked by gentle strength, not loud ambition, but quiet confidence, not frantic energy, but steady focus. Let my presence speak peace without needing to say much. Let my eyes carry compassion. Let my steps move with intention. Let my words heal rather than wound, lift rather than burden. Let every interaction be an overflow of the stillness I have found in you. Help me not to rush ahead of you. Help me not to drag behind in fear. Help me to walk with you step by step, pause by pause, breath by breath. You are not asking me to be perfect. You are asking me to be present, and in presence, there is peace. In peace, there is power, and in power, there is purpose. So I yield again today, not out of defeat, but out of devotion. I open my heart wide to what you might do in and through me, not just in the dramatic, but in the simple, the small, the quiet spaces where eternity touches time. Thank you for those spaces. Thank you for being the kind of God who does not wait for me to reach you, but meets me right where I am. As I take the next step into this day, I carry with me a deeper awareness that I do not go alone. You go before me, beside me, behind me. You surround me with a love that cannot be shaken. You guide me with a hand that never trembles, and because of that, I can move forward not in fear, but in faith. I choose to walk slowly enough to listen, deeply enough to care, and freely enough to trust, not because I know everything that lies ahead, but because I know you will be there. That is enough. It is more than enough. And as this morning turns into afternoon, and afternoon into evening, I will keep returning to that truth. I will keep choosing the peace that only you can give, the peace that guards my heart and renews my mind. And I will walk through this day aware, awake, and aligned. Lord, as this morning breaks into full light and the journey of these prayers reaches its final step, I come to you not with the feeling of an end, but with the awareness of a beginning. You have walked with me through the shadows of my mind, through the fog of doubt and the loud winds of overthinking. You have been the calm in my questions, the anchor in my uncertainties, and the light guiding every silent corner of my thoughts. And now, as I stand at the edge of this prayerful path, I realize that what I have found here was never meant to be left behind. You are not a moment I visit, but the presence I carry. These words were never just requests, but the rebuilding of trust. Each morning prayer was a stepping stone out of the maze of overthinking and into the wide field of faith. And this field is still open, still waiting for me every single day. You have reshaped the way I think, not by forcing silence over my anxious thoughts, but by whispering truth through them. You did not erase the questions, but you offered yourself as the answer, and that is more powerful than clarity. I do not have to know everything. I do not have to fix everything. I do not even have to understand everything. I only need to know you, and I do. I know you in a way that feels quieter, deeper, more real than I ever imagined. Father, thank you for meeting me where I was confused, wary, restless, and not only lifting me out, but choosing to stay with me in the middle of it. You never waited for me to be free of overthinking to draw near. You stepped right into it, and in doing so, you reminded me that I am not my thoughts, I am not my fears, I am not my past assumptions. I am yours, and that identity is steady, secure, and unshakable. Today, I do not pray to escape my mind, I pray to renew it. I invite you again, this final time in this series, but not the final time in my life, to take every corner of my thinking and shape it with your wisdom. If my thoughts wander, let them wander into truth. If they spiral, let them spiral toward grace. If they grow heavy, let them find their rest in your promises. I do not want to fear the way my mind works anymore. I want to trust that even there, you are forming something beautiful. Give me courage to think deeply without falling into despair. Give me space to feel without drowning. Give me strength to choose truth even when lies feel louder. Remind me that thoughts are not enemies to silence, but paths to be led. And you, Lord, are the shepherd of even my thoughts. You guide them, gently but firmly, until they settle into still waters. Let this final prayer become a rhythm in my days, not a farewell to faith, but a welcome to new beginnings. I will still face worry. I will still meet moments where overthinking creeps in again. But now I know how to respond. I know that I am not powerless. I know that stillness is possible, that peace is not out of reach, that hope is not just an idea, it is a person. And I walk with him. Thank you for renewing me not in loud, flashy ways, but in the quiet unfolding of each morning. You have made the sunrise holy. You have made routine sacred. You have met me in the ordinary and reminded me that you are the extraordinary within it. Every breath I take today is a prayer. Every pause is a place where you speak, and every moment is a chance to believe again. I do not need to strive anymore to prove that I am healed, or strong, or wise. I can just be. I can live from grace, not toward it. I can live from peace, not chase it. I can wake up and know that I am enough, not because of what I have achieved, but because of who I am in you. And that truth brings me home to myself. Thank you for the days when I did not believe this, and you stayed anyway. Thank you for the mornings I did not want to pray, and you waited patiently. Thank you for the grace that filled in every broken space, for the mercy that rewrote every harsh thought, and for the love that did not ask me to figure it all out, but simply to receive. Now I carry these prayers like lanterns, each one a soft glow in the darkness that still comes. I carry them into future mornings, into harder days, into moments when I forget again, because forgetting is part of being human, but remembering is part of faith. And I will remember. I will remember your faithfulness. I will remember the peace that flooded when I let go. I will remember the sound of stillness that was not empty, but full of you, Lord. Let others who hear these words find their way too. Let these prayers be a trail they can follow when their thoughts run too wild or their hearts beat too fast. Let them know they are not alone. Let them feel the same gentle invitation I felt to come as they are, to speak honestly, to listen deeply, and to trust again. Use these words not as the final say, but as the beginning of their own. Let their voices rise, their hearts soften, their minds open. Let their journeys begin, or begin again. To every soul who has listened through these chapters of prayer, I want to thank you for walking alongside me, for opening your heart, for daring to believe in renewal. You have made space for healing just by showing up. And that is something sacred. Let this not be a goodbye. Let this be a turning point, a gentle push into deeper trust, a quiet strength to carry into every sunrise. If this journey has met you in your need, I invite you to share your thoughts below. Let your voice become part of this unfolding prayer. Let your testimony of renewal become someone else's beginning. There is power in shared faith. There is healing in spoken hope. And if you feel this journey has lit even a small flame within you, I ask that you subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who needs it, and return each morning to continue walking in faith. Let us build a rhythm of seeking, of surrendering, of being renewed day by day. Not perfectly, but faithfully, together. And now, as the final words of this prayer rest in the air, I look up. The sun is rising higher, casting its first full light across the earth. The breeze carries the hush of grace. A stream nearby sings quietly over smooth stones. Everything feels alive, not in noise, but in presence. And so do I.